we've had that a couple of times where it goes
yeah,
live like
just,
now when we're mid
and
conversation,
then you're just there, kind of doing it. So
exactly, everyone's got to figure out exactly where we are at in the conversation.
What you need is just to be roaring with laughter, and then switch it on, and that's just going to bug the hell out of everyone.
We have had that a few times actually, where we have been absolutely in splitting laughing because of something the guest has said, and then it's kind of like, oh, it's due to start. We don't want to be late.
Yeah. You should have been there on the before show. That's all.
Aching faces and things like that.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the bit that everyone's missing out on, is that sort of 15 minutes or so before the podcast, and then this is just the after waffle that we record for everyone else.
Yeah. We need to look at it.
I've got something to do. I've got to go. So yeah.
Yeah, off to watch Chris at 10 o'clock. I know. Yeah.
Well, my phone has just pinged saying it's on. I was planning to do that. Yeah. So
you better be quick then, I suppose.
Well, last week was the longest episode we've had, with nearly 2.5 hours.
I know, but that was such an awesome podcast. I think I messaged you. I was about 2 hours in. I came in for a coffee, and I couldn't wait to get back to it. It was, amazing person.
It was a great conversation. The conversation we had with Ali last week, it was fantastic. And we've had more feedback on that conversation than any of the other conversations that we've had so far. So many people saying kind of, thank you for talking about things like ADHD. And people saying, I related to some of that. And people saying, well, I might need to get checked out.
I was listening to that. I was saying, I've got that. Oh, I do that.
I think it is the Makers disorder. It is ADHD.
Well, no, I'm not ADHD, but it was a bit like opening up a medical journal, and you kind of go through. You can have like every single thing in there along with you, but it's
just sort of stop flicking through before you get to syphilis. Yeah, it's generally good.
But there's aspects within creativity which I think relate to someone maybe who's got ADHD. I don't know, because I don't suffer from it, and I don't think I know anyone with it. But there's but you sort of, your brains work in quite a different way. I think when you're a creator, it's probably towards that way. It's all a spectrum anyway.
Like that's what I was going to say. That the kind of neurodiversity is such a wide field anyway. That's under so many different kind of chunks of that spectrum that I think it's been said before that most guys are generally somewhere on the autistic spectrum anyway, and things like that. There's so much.
Well, I was just going to say actually, the best training on autism that I had as a teacher, a full day of training. I was working in a school at the time that had a specific kind of unit that dealt a lot with kind of kids with Asperger's. And at the start of the day, the woman who was leading sort of said, look, we're talking about spectrum disorders here. And at one end, we've got maleness. And at the other end, we've got Asperger's. And it's a matter of working out where these young people are on the line in between. My worry a bit with that, as she was going through and talking about kind of various things, I was sort of sitting there with almost like a checklist going, that's me too, that's me too, that's me too. I was thinking, I know I'm not Asperger's, but I was getting far too far along on that the spectrum.
Yeah.
The thing is, there's so much of it. It's as a symptoms in general, especially for neurodiversity. There's a lot of Venn diagram overlaps between lots of the similar things, just as there is with everything. One symptom that could be 15 different disorders, in general. So,
but I guess,
and that's what's important to get in. I was actually thinking this week is whether to almost put up almost like a post, or even make a short little episode.
Yeah, maybe don't self-diagnose from
do this,
our
just
ramblings.
Say, ADHD, Asperger's, many aspects of sort of neurodiversity. These are things that exist, and there are many people in the maker community, I would suggest, that are on those spectrums, because I think they are often related to creativity. But, and a big but, using the internet, using Instagram, ADHD memes type reels to make a diagnosis is not a safe and effective thing to do.
No, sure.
If you think, if anyone thinks they may, they are ticking these boxes and they are looking at it and going, I'm ticking a lot of these boxes, and particularly if it's a problem for you, then go and seek proper medical help to make that diagnosis.
Yeah, and it sounded like Ali had, and she talked about, they talked about medication and like, so, if you are that, it is going to be a problem within your life. Fortunately, I don't have that. I just have creativity. That's it.
That's a big enough spectrum to be neurodiverse.
It's a question of whether that's a problem or not, though. Yeah, is it?
Well, no, it isn't for me, but it might be for my family.
Oh no, Dad's making again. Yeah.
Well, I had this story. I had told it before, where Claire, my wife, and she'd say something, and I wasn't hearing stuff, and I said, I can't remember you saying whatever, or we're talking about that. And having worked in construction for years, we wondered if my hearing, maybe part of my hearing had been damaged. We were using power tools and the like. So I went off to the ear specialist hospital, and they put headphones on and do the sounds and stuff. And I explained before to the guy, I said, my wife, she'll ask me things at home. I'm just not hearing it. And I have an official diagnosis of not listening to my wife.
So my father-in-law is he's lost the band of hearing that is around about the same frequency that women's voices are. So he actually had to get the doctor to write this down as a specific thing, so he could take it home and say, look, no, I'm not being pain in the backside. I look, a medical diagnosis to say I can't actually hear you properly. But
unfortunately, I didn't have that because my hearing is perfect. It was just you just don't listen to your life. And it actually took me quite a long while. And now what I understand is because I spend so much time in my head that I'm in there the whole time. This for me will be mentally quite a struggle doing however long we do, and I'll be exhausted after, which is greatest at night because I can go straight to bed. But if I had to concentrate for a long period, that takes so much energy for me, because I'm normally within my head even when I'm talking to people, and I think it just shuts out. You can't, your brain can only process so much, that it shuts out what's coming in from your ears, because you're in there thinking about through the problems and the like. And for me, I think that's what it is. And it's difficult. Fortunately, my family are quite understanding most of the time. Except my daughter yesterday, she asked me things a couple of times and I completely blanked her. But there you go. That's kids, or fathers for kids for you, I suppose. But but it's quite interesting. A lot of these things, I think it's just maybe coming to terms with how you work and what works for you, in the best way, and then obviously trying to listen as much or engage as much as I can with the family time. I'm super fortunate as I work by myself, so I have a lot of hours in the day where I can be in my head or listening to podcasts or whatever, but I will choose, if I go on a car journey, I'll often choose not to have the radio on, so that my mind can run through, has that freedom just to run through and have that space. To me, that's so much better than listening to external noise coming in.
Do you ever find yourself, because I do that sometimes, but do you ever find yourself, and this is something I do, putting on in order to almost fill the space in the head so that you can stay out of your own head for a bit?
I think we missed a little bit of what you said there, and I think you might have
sorry, was I breaking up?
Were you saying about putting
I actually listened to something in order to almost stop myself getting into my head too much.
Well, I was going to say the same thing, because I sometimes do that while driving. If it's a long journey, I'll put music on to keep myself out of my headspace, to focus on the driving. But then when I get close to the destination, I'll then turn the sound down to give myself that moment to actually think and focus on where I'm going.
I'll definitely listen to music. Music's super important, depending on what I'm doing. But it's normally if I'm having to do, if I'm working on the computer on some artwork or something, I often will have music on because you've got to focus on that specific thing. And sure, if I'm driving, I should be fully focused on the driving, but maybe not if you're listening to the radio. So I don't know. I feel I am totally in control, but you're able to work on a couple of different levels, and I just find that time and that peacefulness, and that you can be in your head working through ideas, because it needs a lot of time to work through a lot of the creative ideas that you may be working on. I don't know. It works for me anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's probably firing off different parts of your brain. If you're doing something actively creative, like designing a poster or a piece of artwork or something like that, having the music on is kind of massaging that creative chunk of the brain that whereas something like driving, you're in.
I find it gets in the way.
Really?
Yeah. I need the silence. If I've got something coming in my ear, it cuts off the creativity in my head, which is why I think I cut off when I'm in my head. I will cut off that sound coming in, so I don't hear Claire or Freya ask me something, and I completely blanked her. Not because I didn't think what she was saying was interesting or she needed, but I just wasn't aware, and it's. Socially, it's a bit of a problem. It's fortunate I work by myself most of the time. I'm an introvert by nature, and I think that helps greatly with me as a creative. I don't need to bounce off other people. I'll just
Well, I mean, so you're saying that you're sort of an introvert by nature, but I mean, our first interaction was at Makers Central.
Where
you happen to be wearing a very, very non-introvert kind of rucksack with screens and YouTube videos playing.
But it's understanding introversion and extroversion, and
true.
As a child, undoubtedly, I was that shy kid, who would, eyes would tear up if anyone spoke to you and stuff. But as an adult, introversion is that you don't need external forces or external input from others to be able to perform and do what you do. I can do it internally with myself, but that doesn't stop you necessarily being extrovert. Now, Makers Central, what was it, 2018, that first year, was a bit special, and what you saw there was not necessarily me. It was a bit like cosplay, really.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a great way to distract the attention from the inner you, to be able to go, look at this. This is the persona I've got with me.
Well, for me, it was less than that. It was such an opportunity. It came at such a great time, because at that time I was doing YouTube and pushing heavily on that, and I thought that was the route I was going to take. And I've become aware that the maker shows out in America and across Europe, and this really was the first time a proper maker show came to the UK. I believe there's been some maker fairs, but I hadn't really got into that whole side. So, but timber and metal and stuff, the stuff that I dealt with, and it just felt like there was an opportunity there coming in, getting yourself known. And
absolutely,
the best way seemed to be, well, for anyone who's listening who maybe wasn't at that show, I made a rucksack within a couple of days, and then effectively I just made a pocket in the back. I slipped in a tablet and uploaded sort of a reel of my videos and had it on a constant loop going. So as I walked around the show, it was showing my videos. I thought, thought that it's, people might see it, might be interested in, you pick up some more subscribers when I was on that whole thing about numbers and building your YouTube following. And actually, I still think it's a really cool marketing idea. I still totally believe in that. But that wasn't me. I'm not that really extrovert person coming out. But I went for it, and it was great. And the outcome of it, if maybe it didn't work in YouTube, the outcome was that I guess it broke down some of the ice in that.
Yeah.
Because I was going there super confident. You met a lot of people, and I've now got some great friends, particularly from that first show, which I'm forever grateful for, because it's.
And that's the thing. It was such a memorable thing to have seen as well, because it was such a unique sort of display project. My
mate simply ornate says something on this podcast. I know that stupid bastard with his videos on the back of his rucksack or something. So, God, what's that Pratt doing? And funny now, we're very good friends, but I don't think.
So it can have a negative effect then.
I don't think I gave him a good impression to start off with, but he got beyond that. So, but it was also a great opportunity of you're going to this place and you want to show your creativity. And the brilliant thing I thought on that one was the coins. I remember you, Jamie, the memory of you coming up, and you'd done those really cool 3D printed coins, and it was the first 3D printed thing I'd ever received. It felt really precious, and I didn't know that was a thing, but it seemed a great place to be able to go and celebrate making.
Yeah.
And as an individual making, and there wasn't really, because it was a show you're going to, you're seeing the people in the stands or the big stars up on the stage. But as an individual, it really felt like it was a time where you could go there and take something. So that was kind of the driving force for that project of, making this rucksack and then, getting this thing I could walk around. I wouldn't do it again, and I didn't do it the second year. Well, not in that way, because it sort of did its purpose then. But
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of the next year was kind of different. I'd already moved into a different place.
A lot of people had already made those connections by the second year.
Yeah, sure. So I was only there on the Saturday because of other commitments. So for me, unfortunately, I really didn't meet anyone new as such on the second year. It was just a blast there on the Saturday, quick run round, meet everyone, and then unfortunately, I had to leave late at night and drive home. So it was very interesting being in the Hilton completely sober while everyone else was rolling around finding things very funny, which was
I think you're right. The whole kind of maker creativity collective that generated at Maker Central reminded me of the kind of the Maker Fair. Certainly the Maker Fair that I went to. I only went to the mini Maker Fair at Brighton a few years before that. And I kind of feel sad that Maker Fairs didn't really make it to the UK on scale. There was the UK Maker Fair in Newcastle for quite a few years, which has now stopped. There were a few mini Maker Fairs, and I kind of feel sad that it didn't actually kind of become a big thing. You have one up in Newcastle, have another one in Birmingham, have another one in London, have another one in Cardiff, have another one in Exeter, and just kind of picking some of the sort of key points around the country where you can have a 2 or 3 day celebration of the fantastic making that is happening in this country, because we have a history of innovation and creativity.
Totally, yeah.
People say it has disappeared. But
no, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. And it depends on what realm you think. I really, truly believe that our country produces some of the top designers in this world. So undoubtedly within Apple and Thomas Heatherwick, up on that level. Outstanding levels of the creative input. But even across the board, sort of coming down, the craft that we have in this country is immense. I think it has been eroded through the education system, and there's no doubt in that. But it still exists, and there's still a desire for people to physically.
Well, I think sort of culturally as well. Kind of putting, say, Brits or Europeans in general versus the other side of the Atlantic were potentially a little bit more reserved, or by nature, I suppose. Previous generations, phenomenal makers kind of by default. Post, war generations. We've talked about like influence. My grandparents sort of thing. And just making was just a thing that everyone did, but it wasn't then something that you would go and shout about or go down to the pub and chat about with your mates. So it was just a thing that you did yourself in your shed sort of thing. And maybe that's kind of the difference there of it. Making is still very much there. It's just it's a little bit more underground, or. But
is it not now kind of cool?
Well, that's what I mean. Is that kind of resurgence?
It's kind of changed. Yeah, and I think the internet has helped in many creative fields, not necessarily just the maker community, be it music or art or anything. In that it effectively now you can get out to the rest of the world what you're doing, which is why YouTube is so fantastic, and Instagram and any of the social medias in the way. And the audience that you can have, it absolutely blows me away that I've got friends who I've never met across the world within the maker community. How crazy is that?
Well, I mean, the chat this evening we've got Lindsay from Texas, who
Lindsay,
put on Instagram just before the show about how she was going to have to make it to watch tonight for this afternoon for her.
I know.
On the podcast.
She's absolutely, she's one of my favourite makers, and we chat quite a bit. So never met her. Hopefully, we'll do one day. But in some ways, that doesn't matter. Because you have access to all these people, and you can obviously pick and choose the people that maybe you follow, or you start messaging and the like. But you can gain so much inspiration from watching other makers. I'm very much drawn to people like Lindsay, who are incredible, have incredible craft and skills, but also have that sort of art sort of direction, and it's hugely inspiring. And even if it's will I make jewelry? Maybe not, but you'll see that and pick it up, and something from that will rub off into work that you're doing. I try a bit of blacksmithing and metalworking. Actually I really enjoy it. It's not my main skill, but it's anything that's new, and you can watch so many makers who are doing this, and you'll pick up the techniques that they're doing, and you're just inspired by their work. But Lindsay's pretty much top there for me. There's a bunch of them, but that's just great. Hi, Lindsay.
And we're going to be chatting to her in just a couple of weeks' time, I think.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. Right, I'm going to challenge you. Try and do your podcast without talking about the space shuttle. I was thinking about this.
That could be tricky. Come on, you know my background.
No, but I know. But I was thinking about this the other day, and well, maybe this is a question for her. It must be so difficult when she has something like that in her past, which we're all obsessed about, and is so interesting. And knowing Lindsay, should be happy to talk about it, whenever, because she's a super nice person. But she's moved on such a long distance away from that, and she's doing so much fantastic work now. It must be so frustrating to have to go
being brought back to that.
I was going to say, almost being typecast as the ex-NASA person,
and it's and we all know why, and I'm sure for her, she is who she is now because of the experiences she's had, and that's definitely going to have led into where she is now. But Okay, well, that'll be my question. Maybe you can ask it on my behalf, or maybe you can. Yeah.
Well, she's in the chat. She'll be listening and poised and ready to answer in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but on the podcast, yeah, that'd be really cool to know. And that, yeah, where that balance comes with her, I'm sure she'll say, "Look, I'm really happy to talk about everything," but. Yeah,
but it may be one of the things that we end up chatting about. I mean, that we don't know where these chats are going to go. We come into these chats with no real agenda. I mean, we always ask the guests are the things they don't want to talk about. We ask them if there are things they do want to talk about, but we don't kind of have an agenda. We're not following the kind of interview line.
No.
So if it goes down that line, if the question's there and she wants to talk about it, we'll chat about it.
Yeah. And as you well know, that's the only reason I said I'd be happy to come on the podcast, because I have no desire to go out there and self-promote, which maybe you don't believe from the rucksack at Maker Central, but I kind of totally beyond all that now. So I'm not interested in that. And I really like what you're doing in that the conversations can go wherever, and it's not just necessarily based on, what do you do, what you've done, what's your projects.
Here's the same list of questions we ask everyone every week.
Well, if you're following Instagram feeds or someone's YouTube channel, you're kind of going to know a lot about this. And
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, often there's a lot of other stuff behind the person and what's happening, or just sort of views on general stuff that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of something we've said from the start is, I mean, we've still not. We've been going for 25 minutes now, and we still haven't actually introduced you who you are or what you do.
It says it here. Yeah.
It's as prickly, and that's
in the title of the show.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's that sort of thing of like if someone wants to go and look at your work, look at your Instagram or your YouTube or whatever social media that's connected to you as a outward influence to the world. They can do that, but what we want to do is just have a chat with the person behind it all, and just learn a bit more about you and just have a natter and waffle away for however long we waffle for.
It works for me.
I can tell you.
I've really loved having you guys in my ears over the last few weeks. No, truly it has. And I was saying before this that I don't listen to a great deal of podcasts. Well, no, that's a lie. I don't listen to a great deal of maker podcasts. You are one of them. I listen to a lot of podcasts in other creative fields outside because my interests pretty much lie outside of what I'm, timber and construction or joinery or any of that. I'm interested in the things that I don't really know about. So,
I mean, just as part of the as a way of introduction. I mean, you essentially work on your own. You essentially run your own company, don't you? And it's design and construction of garden rooms. Is that your kind of business?
Well, yeah. My day job is I'm a carpenter and joiner by trade. So always have been. So, garden rooms is what I'm trying to specialise in now. I went to study architecture probably about 10 years ago. Loved being at university and studying that. Hated being in the industry. Just didn't. I was, round peg in square hole, or whichever way it works. Square peg in round hole, isn't it? That's the one that doesn't go through it. That just didn't work for me. So now it's very much, I pretty much think of myself as a creative maker, but anyone outside of the maker community doesn't know. I tried advertising myself locally as a creative maker. I got no responses, amazingly.
Okay.
Because people want a kitchen and they want to know you make kitchens and that you're the kitchen maker. They don't want someone who's like, I could do you anything. Can
you do that one thing I've asked you for? Well, that's what I want to know.
No, exactly. So most people, that's a lie. I did have a couple of clients who really got it. I did some absolutely amazing projects for, but generally it didn't work. But I do, having come from trained within a design background, I can now bring that to what I do. So instead of just doing general joinery work, it's very much designing bespoke single room houses. So it's bringing in the architecture, but it's I get to build it, which is all the fun, and that's what I miss when I worked in the practice. I'll be there. I felt like a bit like Edward Scissorhand. I'll be in there tapping away and doing all the designs, and someone else would go and make them. And you're kind of there. It feels like it feels like you've got these tools on the end of your hand, and you can't use them. There's kind of blood and guts and stuff going everywhere. So I had to get out of that and back into the making. So that's kind of what I do, I guess, to make money. But things are. That's not just me, it's everything else. And there's a huge amount of. I just see being creative all the time for me is the aim. A lot of those don't necessarily make money, or occasionally they do, and it's just trying to find those places which I have that interest and that desire to go with a vague thought that they might come good eventually. Always looking for the maker's kind of goal of making money while you sleep. That's definitely well, no, it's definitely possible.
Yeah,
but not. And I'm having to think in quite creative ways, but in different ways. And that the reality of making is that it's physical, and we only have X amount of hours in the day, and you can earn your whatever industry you're in. You'll have a ceiling of how much an hour you can charge, and undoubtedly, if you're running a business, you won't be able to charge for every single hour in the week, and so you have a cap on your earnings. Now, if you can create a product which you then don't have to create again and put out to the world, and then sell off the back of it. So, I'm trying to if I was a band trying to write my album, so you put a lot of effort in, make your album, you put it out there, hopefully it becomes a hit and makes you lots of money. So I'm going down that route at the moment, which is a lot
of other makers and creatives end up writing books or doing the films or that kind of thing. Like you say, it's something that you can create once and it can still be bought or still earn you revenue down the line.
Well, I have written a book.
I was going to say, a book is something that has been.
Andy knows everything that I do. Jamie, I realise, we're not in touch quite so much, but I've written a book and I've written a novella, and I'm in the editing stage at the moment. So that's kind of, so it's a side project and it's an everyday project. So I've been doing it now for, I don't know, started, what year are we? We're in 20. I started the last day in 2019, so I've been doing it a year and whatever's left of this year, so 16 months or so, year and a half, just over.
Plus 20 months,
it's a huge long project, and I don't know if I would have started it if I'd known quite how long it would take. Sometimes ignorance is the best thing.
If you judged all your current projects on hindsight, then I think a lot.
Sorry, say that again.
If you judged your current projects on hindsight, you'll have by the end you've finished them. You'll have probably reevaluated half the things you've done, I would imagine.
Well, maybe. If I'm working with materials, I pretty much have a good idea of how long they're going to take or not. Something like writing a book is very different. It's something
it's an open-ended question, isn't it? That something like that.
Yeah, well, it's a skill set that I know nothing about, and but not all of us, but a lot of people say, "Oh, I've got a book inside me," but how many people actually take the action to do it? And it came a very interesting time where I was getting bored of YouTube, of literally watching videos, and it was this moment where I'm like everyone else. You watch other makers' videos and stuff, but you get to the point where you realise that actually I probably know how to do a lot of this. So actually, why am I watching it? The person I'm watching is having all the fun because they're there making it. What am I doing here, sat on the sofa in the evening, watching someone else have fun when I can be doing it. Well, being out in the workshop late at nights with power tools, isn't very sociable, so I can't do that. And so within quite quick succession, I came up with the first one was a poster project where I made a physical poster every week for a year, so Project 52. And then a couple of weeks after that, I then decided to write this book. But the book actually goes quite a long way back. They'd been in probably about 2 years earlier that had come to me. And it'd taken me that long to get there. I had one full start. I really don't know why now, but I thought the best way, because I'd never written anything like this. I thought, the best way to do it is I'm going to write some of the backstories of some of the characters. A bit like method acting. I thought that'd be a great thing. So at least you sort of know the characters, and then when you come to the story, you can do it. It was so boring. I had about 2 weeks. It was like, it was like pulling teeth out. Absolutely awful. But I was also doing it on the PC. So you go up and you've got to turn on your computer. And it takes 30 seconds or something to come up, and you've got to be there and type. And it felt like this very much. You had to find the time to go and write. And a couple of days go past, and then before you know it's half a week, or you get back to another one, and then another week and two, and before you know it, you're not actually writing. And then eventually, when I came to it, I realized that the only way I could do it was writing every single day. That was the only thing I said to myself I had to do. So whatever I wrote, it didn't matter what it was. I knew I had a story, but I didn't know where it was going. I didn't know if I could write, whether the story is readable. I still don't know that. No one else has read it yet. I'm hoping, Andy, that you're on my beta list. I don't know if you know. I think I might have asked you, but you will.
I have offered
be getting it
to read it and kind of.
Well, I want to get it to a point where it's not 100% there, but it's pretty much there, and I'm not there yet. But by giving myself no sort of kind of goals, and all you had to do is write every day, was so refreshing. And I started writing on my phone, so I just do it on Google, whatever it is, Pages or Sheets, Google Sheets on my phone, and so it's with you wherever you are. So when we COVID struck, and we had those great queues outside the supermarket, I'd get out the phone. I was just writing another couple hundred words. It was great, so pass that time, and you've always got it with you. And it's amazing if you can do one thing every day, you get there.
It's reinforcing those habits and stuff then as well, isn't it?
Totally. It's getting into a habit. But I don't know, it took me 6 or 7 months to write 120,000 words, of which,
not
bad. But that was a rough draft, and I didn't edit it. And looking back, and now I've started listening to loads of podcasts on how to write and stuff. So I've been learning lots, and this whole show not tell with writing. If you've heard about this, instead of long dialogues, talking about the thing, you should try and show it in action. And I realised that a lot of my writing is telling, not showing. So having to go back in there and rewrite the story and stuff. But sort of doing those sort of projects. So ultimately, financially, it could work out, but there's a good chance it won't. If it doesn't work out, I'm actually a winner because I've written a book. So it's a win-win, whatever. But potentially, it could do well if I can market it, because I'll be a self-publisher, and there's that whole.
You've got an offer from the chat from Alan Alan Scannell to read it for the Audible. So you've got that in place. If that takes your fancy.
I know what Alan. Hi, Alan. I've met Alan, and we didn't actually realise it for a very, very long time. We met at Makers Central the second year at the hotel before. I met up with Nate and Johnny, Bespoke Bloke Design. And
you guys were stood right behind me chatting away while we were in the queue to get into Makers Central.
Sorry, I completely blanked you. Yeah, you were
That's
so
right.
last.
I was blanking Johnny
last year by then. But suppose Alan and I would be kind of messaging back and forth saying, "Have we met? I'm sure we've met." And Alan's like, "No, we haven't met." Oh, okay. And Johnny says one time, "Yeah, of course you met. It was at the hotel when we were together." So no, Alan's absolutely. I love him. He's great. So, and also, I love his laugh. I only listen to their podcasts because his laugh just cracks me up. So I'm just wondering what an Audible book would be like, read by Alan Scannell.
I'd listen to it definitely.
Well, no, exactly. Maybe it could just be 8 hours of Alan giggling away. It would be hilarious. Okay, I'm going to DM you, Alan.
Yeah, Alan, you might have a job there, or at least an opportunity to audition. Yeah, give him the first chapter or something. You've got a section that's got a good bit of laughter in. Yeah, maybe give him that to read. But kind of, Lindsay actually has brought up a sort of the point which follows on from what you were saying about that idea of writing a little bit every day, and that's the fact that you instigated Project 12365, which, for those who aren't familiar, go on Instagram. There's a group of people who
very talented
every
people.
Day.
It's getting bigger. My father,
Yeah.
83, and he joined today, his very first time. I've had to post them onto my Instagram stories because he completely failed with the technology, but that's completely cool. The fact is there, spent his whole life saying he can't draw, and he's looked at it because I was up there doing a recent project, and he saw my daily sketch sheet, and then he came to me and said, "Oh, have you got next month's list up yet?" And so he's taking part, which is
And he started with a rather good hand.
Well, no, exactly. It's brilliant. For God, I wish I could have done that when I hadn't drawn anything. I came into it with a bit of drawing. Well, yeah, it's a strange one. And Andy, did you do Inktober back in last year?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I started my drawing.
Yeah, that's right. I was trying to remember
about 3 or 4 days before that. Because I'm almost not quite as old as your dad. What you might say. I dropped.
You'll get there. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Hopefully, yeah. When I was 13, 14, and we had to choose our options for O levels. I'm old enough to have done O levels. Art was a subject I liked, and I wasn't brilliant at it, but I wasn't bad at it, and I enjoyed it. But it didn't fit with the options that I needed to take or wanted to take, and so I had to say bye-bye to art. We did. A couple of us did ask if we could do art as well.
Yeah, sure.
Essentially a 9th, because we only did 8 O levels then. It wasn't kind of the days where sometimes some schools now do.
Yeah, they turn off.
We literally 8 was the maximum, and we did ask, could we do art as well, because we really liked it. And the art teacher said, "No, I'm afraid you can't." And so my art.
You're a physicist.
Stopped.
You can't do art.
Yeah, art stopped then for me. Apart from the odd bit of doodling, and literally just random doodling, nothing formal, or not particularly pictures, not as. Yeah, some people say, "Oh, I don't draw," but then you look at their sketches that they do in the meetings or things like that. You think,
while on the phone.
Yeah, and so I decided I was going to do Inktober, and I can't remember why now that I decided I was going to do Inktober, and I started 3 days before that, just doing a little practice sketching, getting a pencil out and trying to get hand in. So I did Inktober, and then you suggested.
Yeah, well, I did Inktober. I did Inktober because of Lindsay. She posted that she was going to do it, and I knew of it, and I thought, yeah, why not? Yeah, I'll give it a go, because I don't consider myself an artist or that I could draw. I always say I'm an image maker. I can make an image. I'm good on Illustrator. I come up with an idea. And hand drawing itself is quite different. So I took part in Inktober, and because I'd done that whole poster thing, I had all these A2 sheets. It was effectively the ones which didn't work. I just used the back of the sheet. So I started doing my sketches, and I made the decision that I would overlay the drawing. So I'll do one drawing, and then I'll do something and try and get them to interact in a way, and then you end up with this sheet, which I still feel that at the end of the month. So I do a A2 sheet per month with the 30 or sketches on it, and I still feel that the sheet as a whole is better than the sum of the parts. Each individual sketch, you might have a day which doesn't work particularly well, you're not happy with, but you can go on to the next day. But when you come to that end of a whole sheet with all these individual random drawings together, to me really works. I really like that process. But going back to what you're saying, because I come off the back of this year project before, I really felt it's a bit like what you're saying, Jamie, that getting into habit, because I got a habit of doing something quite regularly, and a project to finish, I wanted something to carry on with. And I remember I must have done a post or something and saying, I'm thinking I might carry on in Inktober for the next year until this year's, to finish on this year's Inktober. And or maybe I can't remember, maybe Andy, I'd mentioned to you on DMs or stuff, and it was only purely because of you, where you were saying, oh yeah, I'll do that, I'll join in. And if you hadn't said that, I might not have taken the step, because actually to commit to a year of daily sketches seemed like an absolutely enormous thing. And having other people alongside, it keeps it going. And
for me, it's an element of accountability, because I've made I like to think that for me an important personal trait is integrity.
Yeah, sure.
And for me, I like, if I say, I'm going to do something for somebody else, I do everything that I can. I don't always get it right. I don't always achieve, but my aim is to try and fulfill that.
Yeah.
So I've said to you, I'm going to take part, and I'm going to do everything I can to try and do. Yeah. And some days, some of the stuff I put out it's not great. I've got I'm literally taking 5 minutes to go. I mean, yesterday, Word. I was like, what am I going to do for Word? I can't.
Well, you chose that as well, Andy.
I know.
That was your fault.
That's the worst thing about it. And I was like, I was thinking, what on earth am I going to do? And what? I think I finished at about 1 o'clock this morning, and I just at the end I just said, sod it. I'm just going to do obviously a bit of bubble writing, graffiti. I was thinking of colouring it in graffiti style as well, but I was just so tired by 1 o'clock in the morning.
But that's totally what it's about. Turning up every day, doing the thing, and it doesn't matter what it is. I was saying to my father and that, because he obviously had some concerns about doing it. Well, my sketching's not going to be good, but that doesn't matter at all. It's a personal thing. It's supposed to be fun, and it's a development of a process over a long period of time. And anyone who gives it a go, if you do it for a year, or maybe a month or 2 months, or definitely over a year, you will see a difference from the start to the end, and you will grow and get into a feel. There's no way any creative thing with any sort of tool, that day on of using it, and the process of doing it, becoming comfortable with it,
it's practice and muscle memory, and
totally.
It's all these sort of physical skills you're developing as well.
Yeah, and it's seeing it as well. It took me about 2 months, and I got to a point, and I knew I could draw. I probably could before that, but I did get to a point where I realised that I was looking at be it the object or a photo that I was sketching from, and my pen would follow the lines that I was seeing, more or less, to get the shape. And effectively, that is drawing, and that is what the daily thing is about. And not every day is great. I do some, and they're atrocious. I've done some when I always pen them up. I very rarely rub something out totally, but I'll pen it up, and I might do a second sketch because I think I want to do something a bit better. So that, that's totally legit. But yeah, it's been great. I found the 200s really hard. That got really difficult, and a bit like what you were saying, Andy, having other people there, you feel you have to turn up to do it because you're committed. And that was really useful, because I think around day 220, I think I might have given up. I had a blip where whatever I drew was just not working for whatever reason. But you get through that. And it's been amazing where, a group of us, and there's 2 or 3 of us, I think had done it right from the start. And then a number of people come in or do a few days and then drop out and then come back. And that's totally cool as well. It doesn't. It's a big commitment to do.
That was something I was going to bring up. Is you mentioned before about it being a big commitment to actively decide to do something every day for 12 months is a big commitment. But the way you've broken it down into month at a time, for the word lists or things like that, it's that it's the eating the elephant, isn't it? You're not necessarily committing to doing 365 drawings. You committed to, I'll do one today, or I might do the ones for this month, or I might do a month and then come back. And you say that flexibility there is something that's probably made it a little bit more accessible to other people as well. Yeah,
I'm actually amazed that anyone has come in to join, and it's blown me away that people have come in even just to do 1 or 2 drawings. That brings something to them.
Do you reckon that you would have carried on to this point now without the accountability of other people joining in?
Well, I'm saying, I think in those sort of early 200 days, I might have given up, and it's having knowing that there's Andy and a couple of gentleman makers in there,
Kelly the gentleman maker, and
and 12. Yeah, no, I think he lives near me. I'm going to have to hook up with him. I think he's in Somerset, so I'm not sure what his name is, but it's fantastic he's there, and you get that day just be able to comment on and say, you're doing great, let's keep going. But it's something about that. It's just giving yourself, I don't know, I spend maybe a quarter of an hour, 20 minutes having breakfast, sketching. So I get up, I write for half an hour or edit, and then I have breakfast and I sketch. And it's just those moments in the day just to do those. It doesn't take anything out of my day. What it's done is given me time where in the past I might have sat down having breakfast watching a YouTube video. And that's all it was about. It's kind of dropping some of that and picking up something creative.
Has that changed from like routine to ritual then for you?
Oh yeah, no, totally. There's these sort of long form daily projects are something that have really worked for me over sort of the last period. Since I've come off of YouTube and into sort of a different creative period, it's been absolutely amazing. Because I mentioned about the posters, it started off with those. So if anyone knows any of my works, I was my YouTube videos, I was making maybe pieces of furniture, and then I got into spray stenciling, particularly words on pieces of furniture, because it adds in this additional element within the work. And I put my Pricklysauce brand stamp, I'd spray that on. And then I heard a talk. It's anyone who's creative, they want to know how to kind of creativity and business and the whole business behind creativity. If you go and look out The Future, spelt without an E, absolutely amazing resources. Anyway, they do a series of, a bit like yourself, sort of chats with people in their podcasts and live streams. And they spoke to a young designer just come out of a fairly normal college in America, and he'd gone and decided he was going to do a virtual poster every single day for a year, and they had him on, and it had quite a lot of success with that. And there's something that really struck me with that. So it's a time when I thought, I don't want to be watching all these videos, I want to be creating. And there was something about that, doing something regularly. And I thought I'd take the kind of the work I was doing with spray stenciling. It was just words. Could I do something which was more art based? And obviously I wanted to make something physical. And so I decided I'd make a post every single week for a year. And that was just an incredible time. And again, I had no expectations of it. It was purely make one of these things, post it onto Instagram, move on to the next one, and go through for a whole week. And that has now sort of carried on. So I'm still doing, I still call them posters, but artworks. I'm doing it on different. I've broken out of the poster form onto MDF or boarding and stuff, and now got my work up in a gallery in the city here in Exeter, and I met some other artists, and there's a whole creative flow that comes from that. You meet new people from that, and it opens you up to other stuff. So that's been really successful. And I don't know if you know about this, Andy. Maybe did you hear about the competition I entered? Maybe
I think I did know that you entered the competition, and you got.
Well, I did
got
quite
shortlisted.
Well, before this went live.
You won a section, didn't you?
Yeah, I won a section. So I mentioned Juxtapose podcast to you a bit earlier, which is I didn't know about this. I came across this actually. Tom from Timber Club. Do you know Tom? Heard of Tom? Timber Club? Yeah.
Yep.
Brilliant maker. Anyway, I picked up from him. He had this sort of magazine. He's very much into street art, contemporary art sort of scene as well. And I thought, that looks good. So I picked up on the Juxtapose podcast, and it's great. And it's all very much, the end of contemporary. And haven't had Banksy on, but they had, Shepard Fairey and people like that they'll have on. And I was listening to a lot of the back catalogue, and I thought, I'll listen to the latest one. And one of the presenters on it, Doug, just mentioned there's this competition because we were in COVID at that time. And each year over in Lavazza Coffee, the factory, I think it's over in Turin in Italy, they get street artists to paint huge murals outside of buildings based on the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. So I think there's 17 of those. So they get given one of these goals and they do these things. Because of COVID, it couldn't happen. So they opened the competition out to the internet. And I needed a poster for that week. So I thought, well, that's good. I'll go and have a look. I'd never even heard, I'd heard of the UN, but I'd never heard of these Sustainable Development Goals. And I had a look at them, and they're huge. They're like, poverty, life beneath the sea, gender, all of these like absolutely enormous topics. And you're supposed to pick one of these and make a piece of art from it. And I couldn't choose. So I asked my phone to choose me a random number. They gave me number 16, which was peace, justice, and strong institutions. And I thought, there's no way.
Button again.
Well, no, exactly. I was going to do that. I was going to ask Siri to, pick me another number, but I realised this is going to be one of those, continuous circles. You come back to the
one you wanted in the first place.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I've just got to do that. Get a poster out for that. Put it. And I thought if I put it out there and you hashtag it, a few people in that competition might see it, you might pick up a few people like what you're doing, that whole gamut. And they so each one that you went, so I went in for this peace and justice, and the difficulty was, how do you produce an image or a piece of art that responds to this absolutely massive thing? And I went down the really simple route of just making the words into symbols. So for peace, I chose, your sort of victory, your peace sign. Mm-hmm. And then justice was sort of bound hands. And I thought, can I get the bound hands holding on to oops, sorry, wrong way. get them holding onto the fingers like this. I thought maybe that's a good way of connection, because someone at the UN had actually put these things together. So there's someone a lot more intelligent than me has said that there's a connection between these two things. So I thought that was quite intriguing. And that's purely what I did. I got my son to take some photos and then illustrate. So I was able to scale the hands slightly down so that, and it didn't look wrong. And I spray stenciled this up, posted it up. Anyway, and I totally forgot about it. I moved on to the next poster the next week, and onto that. And I don't know. About a month later, I was chosen as the finalist for our group, which was just bonkers. It's just like me. I'd only started doing this stuff, 5 months ago. 6 months ago. I was a complete beginner at this. And you looked at the other finalists' work, and it's still up there. People can go and have a look. And the work that people did was absolutely stunning. True artists. It was just incredible. Anyway, a couple of weeks later, I was in the workshop painting sash windows. I've been restoring sash windows. I was there with a paintbrush, undercoating it. And I got a text saying you won. So I'd won the whole competition, and it came a €10,000 prize.
Nice.
Fantastic.
For one poster.
Who said art doesn't pay?
Well, no, it's totally. The funny thing was, for how many years I was on YouTube, 3 years or something, doing that, and all the grind and the hard work and the late nights, going into that, I completely blew. I probably earned maybe £500 or something from adverts from that. And the idea for the poster literally took 5 minutes, and it probably took a couple of days just to get it together and sprayed. So absolutely blew me away.
But I would argue, I want to step in. Sorry to interrupt, but I want to step in. You say the idea took you 5 minutes, but that doesn't include the weeks, the hours of practice, of doing the other posters, of doing all the other art beforehand.
Well, and the life of learning,
the reading, the watching, the taking stuff in.
And it's the creative thought that you get to, it's like that. It was, I don't know, maybe Picasso. I say Picasso. I think it was him. He someone asked for a sketch, and he scribbled a sketch on a napkin and said, well, that'd be £5,000. It's like, well, how can it be worth that? Well, the sketch only took 2 seconds, but it took me 30 years to get it, and you're paying for that. It's that sort of story. And some of that, comes from that. But from someone who, I was doing this to learn, and then to go on to win this competition with, some absolutely they were all fantastic artists. It still blows me away.
And yet you don't consider yourself an artist still?
Well, no, I do now. No, I would say I'm an artist, but I still, if someone asked me what do you do, I would definitely not say I'm an artist. I still just say I'm a creative maker, because it's this gamut of a lot of things. But I guess what I'm getting to is, for me, being able to take those opportunities of not having self-doubt. It's always the case of our worst enemy is ourselves, and that we say we can't do these things. If it's out there and you want to do it, just give it a go. The results don't matter, and you can be pleasantly surprised by what you can achieve. Now, the competition, it was like a complete fluke in some ways. If I hadn't listened to that podcast, I wouldn't have entered. I might not have had that if the phone hadn't chosen that piece, and I'd done another piece, it might not have worked in the same way for them. The fact that I did posters, and effectively what I was making was adverts, worked maybe over and above fantastic artwork, which was more nuanced. Mine kind of was a punch in the face to anyone, and undoubtedly that worked within that context of the contest to push me forward, even though I couldn't see it at the time. I knew it was a good piece. I'm very good at being self-critical of my own work. I know when I make good work and when my work isn't quite up to patch. So I knew it was a good piece, but I couldn't compare it against anyone else's. And I understand why it did win the competition. It's absolutely amazing.
Art is a very subjective thing, isn't it?
Totally.
You can look at a piece of art with an objective eye and go, there's very good brushwork there, or you can go, there's very clean lines there, good use of perspective, great composition.
Sure.
There are objective things that can say, but ultimately art is, some would say, by definition, a subjective thing. It's art if it creates an emotional response within the viewer.
No, it is, totally. And also as a competition, they're looking for something, so it works well for them as an image. Part of the winning also was to be featured in the Juxtapose Apple magazine, and I had a great chat with Rob Pricklysauce, who's the editor of the magazine over in America. And he said, maybe he's been kind to me or not, I don't know, but he did say when he saw the finalists' image, he was one of the judges, he knew mine was the winner. Which he's seeing a lot of work, so obviously he has an eye for it. The other thing which blew me away was that the manager from Banks's Waldorf Hotel was one of the judges as well. So, he's seeing some of the top end art that the world can produce. So I felt hugely humbled by the whole thing, totally out of my depth on it all. But it did definitely give me a level of self-confidence to carry on and now do it on a fairly regular basis. But it also leads into those other creatives, and it's very creative, projects like the dailies and the year-long projects. And there's definitely something in that of just going out and doing something which is quite different from maybe what you do, giving it a go on a small scale regularly. It just opens up so many more possibilities. Yeah.
Do you follow Tom Sachs?
No, I don't. I know. Are
you familiar with him?
Yeah. He does a lot of he's the sculpture and sort of NASA-based work.
Yeah, he's this year. It started a bit before Christmas. He's done a few projects where he's worked with Nike, developing shoes, and I came across Tom Sachs probably 5 or 6 years ago, possibly even a bit further back than that, with this kind of idea of 10 bullets and the work of Casey Neistat and a few people like that. But with the most recent work he did with Nike, which finished a few weeks ago now, they started a kind of a wear tester program. And within that, they had a couple of phases where they literally sent out to a couple of hundred people these shoes to try. Laura Kampf had the shoes for both phases. Crafts with Ellen from Crafts with Ellen had them for second phase. So there were a few people that kind of in the Bits to Make community that kind of we kind of know the names that we're familiar with. I had them, and there were people that were involved in the art scene, and some people from sport had them, and essentially anyone could apply to become a wear tester. And as part of this, they were given these shoes, which they had to wear every day and record, what they did and how they felt, and were there any issues with the shoes. So there was an extent of experimentation in terms of quality assurance working with Nike. Are there things they could do to improve them? But Tom was involved, of course. It was not just going to be just about the shoes. And there was this thing actually that came out from that it wasn't about the shoes. Now, a lot of people got involved in some of the other challenges that he set. And there were a variety of these things, and some of them were sort of quite physical things, and it's ones involving kind of physical fitness. There was, again, bringing in the kind of the NASA side of things. People were sort of with the physical fitness. They had to make their own medicine ball, which was a planet, and so it's sort of talking about things like that. But two things that you mentioned were things that came out of that. I mean, you could talk about the endurance art, because that's one of the early themes was endurance, and one of the books that was required reading for people involved in the program was the Shackleton story of endurance.
Oh, that's amazing.
Which I mean, for people who don't know, I know. I mean, Rob, we've met a couple of times and we've had conversations, and I think we've got sort of similar.
Well, I've done some Arctic exploring as well, so
has a kind of a background in kind of mountains and exploration and things like that, and the kind of cold. But he's also he did a couple of other things, and one of them was which he called OBI, output before input, and the idea was that people involved would put their phones. Often, quite a few people actually designed almost like safes in which they could put their phone, so that they would, before they got up and before they did what everyone does, which is to kind of let's see what does anyone like to. I mean, I post my pictures generally late at night. Because that's the time I get to actually kind of work on it with a bit of sort of quiet and the time and concentration that I need. So I post it late, and then the first thing I want to do in the morning is, who's commented, who's liked, has anyone
my friends
liked? Robert was comments.
You'll find I comment at 6 o'clock in the morning because
yes,
I use that time because I'm not waking up to edit or writing my book. I need 10 minutes to.
Yeah, his idea was that kind of that idea which you were doing with the kind of he said you taking that time over breakfast to do some drawing, to do some writing, of actually doing some creative process before you start just taking in other people's process. And I think that I was almost expecting you when I said, you familiar with Tom Sachs, for you to go, I've been following the web tester program and been following some of these things, but you haven't. You've been working essentially in parallel to some of the ideas that he's generated.
Yeah, I'm probably a strange beast in that I try and avoid probably the better known or well known. I'm really interested in people doing stuff differently. I don't know why that. I don't know why that is. I think there's so much great. I'm sure the work that Tom's doing is brilliant, but I think there's so much fantastic work that's going on beneath the surface by smaller people who are not seen. And actually, your feed and what your amount. Because I know, Andy, you said you've got like thousands of things you're waiting to listen to or watch, but you can be inundated with this. So I'm nearly cut out some of this higher level.
I think this is for me. This is a fascination with sort of the maker community in a way. I've mentioned several times in the past on here and on Thoughts on the Tinkerage about how, and in conversations with other makers, about how we have this network, and you can't use a Venn diagram to kind of link makers and their maker styles. It's going to be multi-dimensional. Anyway. I don't even think 4 dimensions would do it, or 3 dimensions would do it. I think it almost needs to be 4-dimensional, at least, with the kind of linking makers. And obviously, what we see most of the time on Instagram and YouTube are the people who've decided that they're going to put some of their work on those formats. And what we don't see, of course, which I suspect it's iceberg. So we're seeing the tip of the iceberg. What we don't see is the 9/10 of the people who are producing fantastic work and don't put anything out.
Yeah, you're completely right. Any creative industry is a pyramid. So you've got the few at the top who are getting all the views and success and money and stuff, and everyone else is below it. But it doesn't. But the pyramid is such as that the people down here are no lesser than the people at the top. It's just they haven't got there. Now, a lot of people will have the design that will change, and some will get up and some will come down. But it's always a period. It's always a pyramid. And once you know that, it's then working out where you want to do, how much. Well, it's ROI, the business term, return of investment. Yeah. How much investment do you want to put? Not necessarily financial. So, for me, YouTube, I started off for, YouTube, this great thing. I started doing the projects, and it was ideal. And it's ideal for a lot of makers to do this. And, saw this pyramid, and you see like Jimmy or whoever's up at the top, and you'll say to yourselves that, I want to be that. I want to be up at the top. And, I want to be Jimmy or what he's doing, and that's the aim. And I tried hard for a long while, and then I came crashing down. And yeah, Jimmy kicked me off of YouTube. Can I say that? Am I allowed to say that? I've got to thank him from the bottom of my heart, because it's the best thing that ever happened to me. So let me explain. He didn't physically do it, but turned up at Maker Central, as Jamie, you say, I was there, like it looked like I was this extrovert, hitting it hard, wanting to push it. And I came away from that weekend having seen Jimmy and Bob, two fantastic makers, fantastic people. You would have seen this. They didn't move for the whole weekend. They had queues of people. I was in there. I wanted to meet them. And they had time for everyone. How they did it, how they had a smile. They had words for everyone. They wanted to give everyone a bit of them over that weekend. And I looked at them. I just thought, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And that killed my ambitions on YouTube for me. It took a while to get through. A number of months to get through. I carried on for a fair while. But for me, it was a case of realizing that the investment that I was having to do in time, being up very late at night, and I hats off to anyone who's making videos, because I know the grunt that it takes. And even doing podcasts, this isn't easy, what you guys are doing. And it's sometimes understanding that you're not going to make it for different reasons.
I mean, to sort of preempt what I think Andy might be coming out at here is that we've sort of done this as a podcast because of our own lack of time to put in to do YouTube and things like that. This for us was a way we could still have some input, have some interaction with our friends or with people like that, to be able to still maybe have some connection to it, even if we're not making videos anymore.
I think podcasts is a fantastic way to do that, and I think both of you are fantastic people to do it. Knowing you and how you are in the community, you're really well placed for doing it, and it's a successful already, but it will carry on to be.
Yeah, for me, and I have to say for me, because obviously I can't speak directly for Jamie, but I think we do. We get on so well. We kind of do think similar on things. For me, Makers Waffle, more so than Thoughts from the Tinkerage, which is my occasional podcast, which I'm well overdue putting another episode out. I'll probably have. I'll find when I do put my next episode out. I'm going to fight Anchor again to get it. Get it actually released on all those various platforms. But for me, Makers Waffle, Sunday evening, has over the last few years. I mean, most people know my story. If you haven't, go and listen to episode 1 of Thoughts from the Tinkerage, where I go into
Makers Waffle,
a bit of detail. Oh, Makers Waffle.
Yeah.
Sunday evening over the last several years now has become an important part of my week. It's a part of my week where I looked forward to chatting with friends in the chat, and in some ways I've kind of lost that because I'm having to focus on conversations here, and for me it's very easy. Again, it's one of those, maybe there's ADHD type things. I could very easily kind of fall into kind of just focusing on chat.
And again, this is sort of getting back into that ritual and habit and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm having in some ways it's a bit of a vanity in a way, because I want to speak to. This is not Makers Waffle. If it makes us any
it's a facade
reasonable amount of money,
platform
if it makes us any money, if it becomes self-sustaining financially, if more people contribute to Patreon and it becomes more self-sustaining, and if we one day maybe release some merch and some T-shirts or something like that, then that's a bonus.
Yeah, sure.
But for me, it's that idea. we can have. It's a good excuse to have a conversation with people that are our friends and people that we admire, and to do that in a manner that's not formal.
Yeah, sure. I don't think it is vanity. You're both creatives, and as a creative, we have to perform our work. I remember a sculptor saying that, it's a delayed performance. We make something, but we have to get it out there so someone sees it. And really, I think that's what you're doing. I don't believe, Andy, that you're doing this for the fame and to be known.
Oh no, I don't mean vanity in terms of
it's more
to be fame, more a vanity of it's something I want to talk to you. I enjoy. We've had several. Jamie and I, and you and I, Rob, we've had countless conversations via DM.
Well, it gives you an opportunity. I would say that. I don't know. There's something about that word, but maybe we're just getting into semantics. I don't know. But it's really interesting, and I do think podcasts are a great way in to explore a lot of sort of these ideas and be a creative medium. And I think the way you're approaching it, well, it works for me. It's very good. It's very listenable. It's particularly interesting in that, I came in this, I said to you, I have no preconceived ideas of what I'm going to talk about or want to talk about. We'll just go wherever it goes.
As I said at the start, in the pre-show, we have no plan. We have the set outlines of we will chat, and then at some point we will ask you what's been grabbing your attention, and then we might chat
let's
some
not go
more.
there. It's only an hour and 20 in. Come on, I'm going for the record.
Oh, you go for the record? Okay, right, yeah.
No,
we're going to get to that point of doing a full 24-hour podcast.
No one wants to listen to me for 2.5 hours. I can tell you that. And anyway, no one's watching. Do you realise that?
I know exactly how many people are watching.
Well, I know there are. No one from Britain, because there is a superstar maker on TV tonight.
This is true.
I've missed all the TV stuff. You're gonna have to explain to me in the audience. Then
I was going to hold it off for the end, but Chris Fisher, the blind woodturner, is on BBC Two tonight. A program called Blind Ambition, and they're following a number of
coming up, but
number of blind artists, and it is on. Maybe it's finished. I don't know what time.
I think it is.
It's still on. It's probably an hour long. It's still 10 minutes. So suddenly, after that finishes, you're going to be flooded with all the UK makers are going to come onto Makers Waffle. So I'm going to catch it on iPlayer. So that's super interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be
on. And he was filming. He was filming this week for another TV program. He is just a star. I love Chris.
Chris is awesome. Yeah.
Chris and Nicola.
For those who aren't familiar with Chris Fisher, I mean, the name's in itself, blind woodturner. He is a guy who was once sighted, so he wasn't born blind, but he became a woodturner after.
That's right.
After he lost his sight, and he is completely blind.
Yeah, he lost it within a month or something. He said you can go to his website and find it. Only about 10 years ago. Yeah, and then taught himself to woodturn, and it's
which is if you were going to think of any of the craft skills to do without sight, that would be probably the lowest down on my list for things to do.
Well, Rob, I remember you tried doing some turning.
Yeah, I did. I was following. I came across Chris when I was doing YouTube, and as you did, Andy, you popped up, as a follower, and lots of comments. It's like, I've got a super fan. And now I find out you do it to everyone.
No, not everyone. Only the really special people.
Andy is there everywhere.
And to everyone on the maker community, which is brilliant. And I then realised that. But Chris popped up, and it was like blind woodturner. So I looked him up, and I met him at Maker Central because he was there demonstrating, and we've spoken before, I don't know, but it's like, why are you following me? Because if anyone's watched my videos, except for the first ones, I didn't do any talking. I just get some funky music and put on, from YouTube, free music and put on. So all I'd hear is, it's like, are you into funky music? How can you enjoy my videos? And Nicola, being the star that she is, if Chris was interested in the title, she would talk the video, tell him what was going in the video, and that's how he would experience it. So yeah, we became friends.
But I would imagine, I would just kind of add, I would imagine that perhaps particularly some of your later videos, for those that maybe haven't followed you, the link is or will be, I can't remember if I put it in the description for this video. To your YouTube channel.
It is in there.
And it's worth following and having a look, because one of the things that I particularly enjoyed about some of your videos is that sometimes it would be very it would be hidden. I think it was a couple of times where I actually messaged you and said, how do I get to the hidden vlog?
What's the secret?
But that came out of Chris originally. So as I got to know him, and I thought, how as a creator, we go onto something like YouTube and we make these decisions, and I'm sighted and I can hear, and we make our decisions based on what we know. It's only once you meet someone doing something or in a position which is out of your normal that it starts opening your eyes. And how can I have someone like Chris, who was following my channel, who couldn't experience it without getting Nicola to assist him? Now, I know Nicola, she has no worries of doing that, but it puts Chris in a position where he can't enjoy something as he should be able to. So what I didn't want to change my videos, and I took the decision that I would start doing kind of like your voiceover videos of that video. But I made it hidden, and there was something, I was in that time experimenting, and I think it's really important that we don't just do the same thing that everyone else is doing. We learn something by following other people, but you have to get to a point where you're saying, actually, we need to do something different. Now, unfortunately, I never experienced them. I wasn't cool enough, but I do believe in, particularly Berlin, there was this whole thing of like nightclubs, and they'd be in like industrial areas. If you knew where the door was, you knocked on the door, you could go to the nightclub, but they weren't advertised anywhere. It became really cool places to go. So I had this kind of in my head, not saying that my video is really cool places to go, but it was that sort of idea. If you knew where to look within a video, you could find a link to this hidden video, and it wasn't advertised anywhere else. And particularly for Chris, I would run through the video explaining what was happening, but it also gave me an opportunity of kind of a bit like a sketchbook of the creative ideas and process behind the project. So it wasn't just for Chris, it could be for anyone who liked that. And I had, sure, they didn't get huge views, but I did know the people who came to see it were totally engaged and really wanted to see that, which to me was so much more valuable than having a video that has 100,000 views or something where people might have clicked on and clicked off within 3 seconds.
I would imagine your retention rates on those hidden videos was probably quite high.
I think people generally watched right through. I can't remember, but generally they'll watch the whole video, and they're slightly longer form video if it's 3 or 4 minutes.
I suppose you're actively finding a hidden secret. You're going to be investing in the audience. You know that the people who are there because they want to be there.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I have had a few people say, "Oh, yeah, I really love, those sort of vloggy hidden videos." I liked it as that experiment, and I did think I was going to nest them, so then you'd have another one hidden a bit further down, which maybe went into a bit more deep. But why not? This is the way where maybe
down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, no, exactly. But there's ways of subverting the platforms that we're working on, because they're very controlling. We have no control over Instagram or no control over YouTube. We're playing within the algorithm. You're always trying to catch up. But what if you say, actually, we're not going to do that. We're going to do something else. We're going to do this, but we're actually not after the views or subscribers. We're after the people who are really into it and they start to know. Wouldn't it be amazing to have a video that had a depth of level 4 or 5, and each time you go down, it becomes more granular, and you only get a few people actually come to those depths? I don't know.
Treasure hunt through the videos.
Yeah, but it's that thought process and that sort of level of thinking and doing and going to different places. I think, I don't want to put anyone down, but I guess I got bored in watching Maker videos because effectively most of them are the same. Mine included. Yeah, we're all doing the same thing. We're all trying to compete for people to view. Most of them we don't actually know. Most of us are makers, don't actually need how to make the thing. All we want is that nub of an idea. And there could be something,
a particular thing that is providing the entertainment more than the information at that point.
Oh no, there is that, and there's definitely entertainment in that, and that's a big thing on any visual form. And that's something I probably started to learn to storytell within YouTube, which has obviously helped, or maybe helped me get into writing the books, in that understanding that most people come to YouTube for entertainment. But how many?
Well, there's three. On I've forgotten the name of the podcast. Listen to a podcast this week with Kit Clever from Skilltree, talking to Scott from Dad It DIY. And they were both guests on the podcast whose name I've forgotten. I'll have to put the link into it. I'll look it up in a second.
It can be
I can see it's right. It's yellow. They've got a yellow thing. I shall have to look it up. But he was talking about how Makers figuring it out. Just looked it up. Makers figuring it out.
Oh yeah,
and Kit was talking about how essentially there are three types of videos or kind of modalities on YouTube.
Yeah.
You've got those videos you look for, which I've made a few of, where you kind of
instruction.
I need to know how to fix something.
Yeah,
or I need to learn how to make. I don't know how to bind a book. I want to learn how to. I need to fix my carburetor on my 1957 Volkswagen. Or I've got a block drain. It's those evergreen contents that people look for as a resource to help them solve a problem.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, I do that all the time. Yeah.
You've then got the kind of the entertainment. You've got those kind of things which I would suggest also includes maybe about kind of almost encouraging creativity, inspiring, giving those ideas. You've got those videos, so that includes obviously things like the crazy cat videos and the people reviewing, or the videos you like, Jamie, of kind of opera singer kind of commenting on a music video and kind of talking about kind of how that's that range of that person, or being able to reach and sustain that note is just so people don't understand how difficult that is, and things like that. But then you've also got you kind of the hero videos, the kind of how many people watch Jimmy, for example. We've mentioned him a few times, or Chris, and they'll always watch every video that they put out because they want to support that person. They want to kind of just I really connect to this person. I want to watch that person, and I want to support them. I'd be inspired by them. I've got no
become the super fan.
I've got no intention of doing that, but it's that kind of that creating a following. So I think
I think you're totally right, and I think making falls probably between all of them, but it's that that balance between instruction and entertainment. So it falls into interesting place. Yeah,
and it's finding that kind of space, isn't it? And but then kind of how does that fit? Like you say, talking about how to subvert the system. Because in some ways, the algorithm would be kind of go, oh look, people going to this video then tend to stay on for level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. That's continued watch.
Yeah, the algorithm is a definite problem. It was for me. I know if you're looking at it to make a lot of money and get to that top level, you've got to play it. Actually, most of the people at top level, they're not making money from YouTube. The advert revenue is in the because they've got the views, they're going to get sponsorship, merch and all of that. Where was I going? Sorry, I've lost my train of thought. What were we talking about? I should have pre-warned you this. I'm surprised, it's an hour and a half in. It's the first time I've lost my train of thought.
No,
I expected it to happen earlier.
That idea of subversion of the algorithm?
That's where I was going to go down, because subscriber numbers was the killer for me. Actually, for a long while, because you have a button where you don't have to have your subscriber count up. You see it. You can always see the back end, so you'll see it. And I had my numbers switched off for a long time, and it wasn't because I was embarrassed about how many people I had or whatever. It was you can get so caught up in the number game that actually, I found it changed my the decisions I was making of the projects that I was going to put out. So the algorithm forces you to do them as often as possible. Daily if you can, maybe weekly, monthly for make a project was about what I was hitting. And what that ended up was making the project smaller and smaller so that you could make it in the time and then have that vast amount of time that you need to edit and get everything right and then post it. And also on the back side of it, I was doing my Instructables pages on it to boost the numbers of people coming to the video and all of that. And I guess Instagram, Facebook, whatever you're doing. And that's actually I found to be quite a problem, because to work with the algorithm, you had to compromise your making, and actually being out of YouTube now as a creative, I felt stymied within the system, even though I thought it was the right way as a creative to go. It wasn't for me, because it just pushed you down to a route, which they're quite fun little projects, but they weren't fulfilling in the way. It felt like you're on this churning over all the time.
That sort of transition from doing it for enjoyment to doing it as a job then.
Well, it becomes a job. It has to, because the amount of effort to do it and to do it regularly. It's different if maybe you're just occasionally putting a video up and you're doing it as a fun thing. But anyone, I take my hat off to anyone who's doing it, because I do know the effort that it takes. And you can't go into lighthearted. You have to be fairly business about it. And also, I think you have to take the decision of deciding that maybe it's not going to work. It's not working for you because it leaves you not enough time with your family, or it's taking a lot of your creative time when you can be exploring these other avenues, which for me have been very fruitful in different ways. It works very well for some people, and it is an amazing place. I'm very, very glad it's there. I may put a video up again at some point or do something, but it won't be in the way it was. I won't discount it, but at the moment I can't see myself returning to it.
Yeah.
For me, it's been great being out of it, actually.
I think it's one of those things, if you lose your momentum, I've certainly lost momentum on putting videos up, because it is tricky. I've prioritized my family and things that I have to do for my family over creating the videos, and that has made it very difficult. You can add to that the crazy weather, COVID, and a bunch of other things. It's been really, really difficult to actually sort of get videos going. And I think perhaps the ease with which it's possible to put an Instagram post together compared to a video. Obviously, not Instagram TV or Reels, which also.
But Instagram I think is really useful. Again, it has its problems, but you do feel that the community there are interested. The people are following you for whatever reason. I think I wouldn't promote anyone to come to mine, because you'll get like lots of different stuff. It's not just woodworking or this. It's kind of everything. And I know I confuse people because my interests are vast, and I will put it on there, so you never quite know what you're going to get with me. But I think Instagram works quite well. Though on the back side of it, YouTube you can monetize, which is good, and it pays for my website each year, so it's kind of cost neutral for me for everything. So that I'm very grateful for that. So I still make money every month, and it goes back to that idea of making an album as a creator that something can pay for itself while you sleep, which it's doing in a very small way. But it never got to that point, and people do. See, the other thing was at Maker Central the first year, I met the brothers, Matt and Johnny.
Yeah.
How can you compete with their charisma? It's like game over. You meet those two boys, and it's just like. And I told them it's the only time I think I've got something right. When I met them, I said, "You're both going to be huge," and they are proving me right. But you could tell it. There's that connection between the two of them, which is so unique within the maker community. I don't really know anywhere else where that's happening.
It's almost as if they're related, isn't it?
But who would believe two brothers get on so well and have such a good time? That is pretty unusual with siblings. Well, it is for me and my family. But all they have to do is bottle that and sell it, which is effectively what they're doing. And they've got the whole Instagram and marketing down to pat. They are so amazing. And so I saw Jimmy and Bob. I thought, I don't want to do that. And then I met those two.
It's that competition.
It was the moment I realised I wasn't cool. I wasn't going to make it on YouTube. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's that, like you say, sort of battling against the algorithm, and whether it's Instagram or YouTube or whichever merged platform it's all becoming, but you're not only battling with that aspect of with the algorithm itself, but like you say, the battle against can I get up to that top tier? Do I want to get up to that top tier, like you Jimmy's and your Bobs and that?
Yeah.
Or am I then battling against people like Matt and Johnny who are just naturally charismatic, and obviously they're working very hard behind the scenes. They just being naturally.
They're some of the hardest workers that I know on
absolutely,
it. And they will succeed.
That talent and that gift that then it's kind of the task almost seems insurmountable, doesn't it? You've got more that you're trying to work against. Then, like you say, trying to generate views or content that's different or. Like
so
Lindsay's just sort of said about finding that little niche that you sit in.
Yeah, see,
it's the battle with the work against the creativity that using the particular mediums as YouTube or Instagram generates.
Yeah.
So if the actual creativity of there I know some folks who just love editing. They love editing videos.
No,
I do.
I miss doing it. I love that process of filmmaking. Oh God, it was so good.
And you're very good at it. Yeah.
You're a huge supporter, and I had to learn really hard, and I really miss that. But it's not enough of a miss to go back to it.
But it's from what you're saying, it was affecting your ability to grab your creative draft in the directions you wanted to go.
Oh, totally. No, it was definitely bring me down to a route, and it's hard to break out of that. But Instagram for me is definitely the place to be at the moment. But see, YouTube has been instrumental in the book. The only reason I'm writing the book is because of YouTube. And I'll always be totally grateful for them, even though it was not the greatest thing.
This is fascinating me because you've had so many things you've said this evening. It's little things here is connecting to this thing.
Oh
here.
No.
This thing here, and it's
but that's
the path is not the path you've taken. It's not a straight.
Oh no,
easy path.
No, totally not. But is that not creativity though?
Well, I mean,
human nature as well.
This is a fundamental question that I want to kind of try and address in some of these conversations.
Yeah, but to me, like life itself isn't. So a bit of like I was saying earlier with Lindsay, with her years within sort of space industry, and then when she's here now, undoubtedly what you've done before informs where you are. So everything that I've done, be it sort of right back from being a kid, school, and then getting out into the world, I did some Arctic exploration, mountaineering. You start adding all these things up, and in themselves they're fantastic. You can't see the relation, but I wouldn't be me now if it wasn't for those things. So I wouldn't be here doing now if I hadn't taken that plunge into YouTube. So I'd never regret it. It's just that I knew it wasn't going to work, and coming out of it could lead into other things.
It's the sunken cost fallacy, isn't it? It's that kind of.
But how does that work?
If that, where you are kind of so far down the rabbit hole of a project, and think I must continue on with this because I've started and I've invested time, or I've invested money, or things like that. But to be able to take that step back and say, now this is a point where it's not working for me anymore. So that's the end to this stage.
I'll tell you straight up now, coming out of YouTube was not easy. I had 6 months of depression following that, following Maker Central, pretty much. And this isn't something it's not something necessarily I want to talk about or think I'm happy people talk about it. I don't feel I need to, and I do go through whole life is ups and downs, and you come through. But that was a really, really tough place, because up to that point on YouTube, you have this sort of dream and aim, and I was very focused that I wanted to make it. I want to be up at that top of the pile. I wouldn't be doing all these hours to do it. And once it felt like it was ripped out from under me, because I actually opened my eyes and saw the realities of stuff. Exceptionally difficult to. So you lose focus, and by losing focus, you then come down. You lose your creativity. I always know you're going to come out of it. I know from experience that I always come out. And actually what I've come out into is so much better than it was before. And you had to go through that process together. Not saying that, you necessarily take these decisions and that's the way you're going. I think because it was such a sudden realization, it kind of was at that time very, very difficult. But where you end up is it's always got to be a part of all those bits coming to it. So to me, I suppose it is linear in that it starts from there and ends to here, and who knows where it's going to go. But it's all these tiny little connections which you don't necessarily put together, and that's why I think. And as I've become older, I've taken every single opportunity that I can. One, because there's not quite so much time left now. My 50s, as it would have been when I was in my 30s. So your mind is focused a bit more. So why would I not write a book in my 50s? If I'm not going to do it now, when am I going to do it?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
you do it now. Yeah. It might be the biggest load of tosh that anyone has ever written, but I don't think so. I think it'll be okay. Book 2 will be better. Book 3 will be a blinder because it's a three book, series. So if it's taken me 2 years, hopefully it's not going to take 2 years to do the next one.
We've mentioned him enough tonight anyway, but Jimmy's phrase of going to school on the first one, like you say.
Well, no, there is that. I've learned so much from writing the first that the second one, I won't make the mistakes I made in the first. But interesting, going back to YouTube and where the book comes from. I don't know if either of you have ever had it, but when you get to your milestone, so I got to 1,000 subscribers, that whole sort of, do a giveaway. So I did this giveaway, and I knew YouTube hated you sending you anywhere off the platform. That's like a big no-no. So I selected the winner from the comments because it was based on comment on the video, and I'll choose the one I like the best. And so I messaged the guy. So the only way you can message them is through the comments. I messaged and said, go and find me elsewhere, email me, and I'll get your prize to you. Anyway, next time I came onto YouTube, and you know how a computer, when it crashes, it goes into that safe mode, and you kind of have like the blue screen, and you know that text, which was computer text back in the 80s, the really like the basic sort of, it was that, and it said something. It was hard justified off to this side, off to the left. There was like no space there, and it was just one long line saying that you've committed a community, what was it they call it? A
community violation or something.
That's it. You committed community violation. They didn't tell me what it was, but I kind of had an inkling. It was probably because I messaged this guy. You have to agree to this to get back in, and there's a button in the middle that says, "I agree, I did wrong," or something, to those words.
Yeah.
And there was like this little box that you could appeal in. So I started typing this, and the text goes by. Anyway, it was only the length of a tweet, 144 characters long. I was
going out on Twitter. Yeah.
I was furious, absolutely, because it's that sort of that whole kind of host and parasite thing, isn't it? Who's the parasite in this thing? We wouldn't be on YouTube if it wasn't for the platform. But the platform has all the controls and tells you what you can do. But it's actually everyone making the videos who are grafting, not really making a great deal to feed the beast. And the thing that really struck me was someone had designed that page. It was a bit like Pennant's furniture, like a pew. Someone had gone in there.
Not that one.
No. No, but do you know what I mean? You make a chair really uncomfortable so that you have to be awake, and so someone had consciously gone into that to make you feel bad. It was like the bad face of social media. You press the button to get back into the gilded world of YouTube, and we all love that. It's all exciting and stuff. And that's I just, oh God, my anger. So I'll be out for a walk in the morning with the dog, and that's where this story came to. So the story I've written is set in the future, effectively where it's based around social media, which is, and the entrepreneur who runs it is taking effectively the control of the world, and it's that whole sort of battle between your classic story, your dark side and your good side, and that sort of thing. So if it wasn't for that moment, I wouldn't be here writing the book either. So it amazes me where these things can lead. So actually from those moments of despair or anger, something else can come out of that mix, and it's being able to use those, and that's what I endeavor to do, that you try and take something from it in a creative way. So so it's very exciting. So YouTube's great.
Sounds good. Looking forward to that. Yeah.
It's interesting actually, because I'd had similar aspirations earlier on of I'll jump on board, I'll do this, or I think I've got a little niche that I might go down, or I'll do this, I'll do that. And the more I spoke to people who were actively doing YouTube, the more it pushed me away. And I found that I was enjoying being the roadie more than being the band. Being able to, be at the end of a chat somewhere, or jump on a video call with someone and help fix a problem, rather than actively going and doing something as a video. That was then where I was getting my enjoyment. And the thought of doing, a load of editing, or trying to, setting up different shots, or filming this or filming that, or doing voiceovers or stuff. I just thought
the key for you, Jamie, is to monetize that. And I think this is a real, definitely a real thing. It's always been. So my daughter is very talented musician, and my hope is she will go on as a career within this. But at the moment, she's really struggling with performing. She's slowly getting there. But actually, I think the route for her is not to be a performer, because it comes back to that whole pyramid thing. You've only got a few at the top, and to get there is super difficult, and you've got to be so focused to get there. But underneath this, as a musician, the opportunities are immense. So a bit like what you're saying, you can be in that support. So
yeah,
we're very fortunate. We have a local college, and she can go on to music production. She could get into that, become a songwriter, sell your songs to someone else who has the hit. You make the money off the backside, start producing. Personally, I think that's the way to go. And for yourself, if you could, not saying you want to monetize, I'm sure what you're doing is the goodness of your heart to your friends and people in the community. But for you, if you were seriously thinking about that, maybe that is a service you can give. And I'm sure people would be happy to pay for it in some way, even if it's maybe like a Patreon or some other system that you could actually make money from that, as you say, without that graft of going in to make the YouTube videos on the back end.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's something that, again, has been it's been mentioned more than once, by people I've chatted with or helped out. Or
if more than one person mentions it, you should do it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's telling you something.
It's the how, isn't it? It's the.
Well, yeah, but that just takes a bit of thought. You just start it slow and put something out there. The community will help you in those decisions. So you should ask them.
And it's definitely something that's been kind of sort of mulling away in the background there of something I might definitely give some serious thought to at some point. But then it gets to that point of, is that going to then transition into being a job rather than something I do for fun?
Yeah, that's a fair point as well. Yeah.
I mean, and that can be a real danger, and that's a real danger for some people, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely.
If the thing that you enjoy doing is your hobby becomes your job, what do you do for a hobby? If the thing that you were doing to relax from your job is now your job.
Well, you can enjoy your job. I love every moment, be it paid work or non-paid work. To me, it's all the same. So I think you can enjoy it. But you're definitely right. If you step up to charging money, it does change your mental attitude to what it is you're doing. And actually, you lose some control, because if you're getting money, you're giving a service to someone. So someone else has an input to it, which is very different from, I've got this cool idea, I just want to make something. That is the key difference. But you can definitely enjoy that process of doing, paid work.
I think it's also that element. It depends on, it's like your story. You say, it's a very personal thing. It's for some people, they become successful on YouTube and they start generating good ad revenue and they start working with companies. They go, I can make this a career, but it becomes something that has to pay the mortgage, has to pay. The car finances, has to pay for the materials. And
it's a huge step.
Becomes the clear thing. But for some people, they may be in the position where they can go, I don't have to do that because I'm lucky that my partner is the person that earns enough and their job that they enjoy to pay the mortgage, to buy the groceries, to pay the electricity bills. And the money that I'm generating and I can pick and choose who I work with because I don't need to do it. I don't have to do it. So I can then go, okay, I can do the things I want. I can do the projects that I want to do. And so the necessity perhaps is removed. So therefore the enjoyment remains.
Yeah. Money is awful.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, I think money's great. I love money.
No, but
I love money. I think it's great. It's the fact that other people keep asking for it.
If you've got lots of it,
and I can't get enough of it to do things I want to do.
If you're having to pay for all those things, meaning that we have to go out there and earn the graft and pay. I've taken a decision in life. I live quite frugally, so I don't obviously have to earn money, and I go out and I do work every day. But you just take choices in life to live in a way. The holidays are small and cheap. So I'm not going skiing every year, or which I'd love to do. I would be out skiing every single year.
I would
if
too.
I could.
I could.
But
It's the old thing, isn't it? It's money doesn't buy you happiness, but it's much nicer to cry in a Ferrari.
I think we're right back. If I was in a Ferrari, I would be crying.
Yeah. I am hugely happy where I am doing what I'm doing, and it's fantastic. I would like to earn more from what I do, but I wouldn't choose to be in. Well, I wouldn't choose to be back in the architect's place, because I did that for 3 years. What
I was going to say is some things are worth more than the money.
Yeah, it killed me there.
Yeah, and my day job is working in an engineering field, dealing with architects quite a lot.
Yeah,
we do building services.
Don't work with an architect.
That is the irony to it, is that a lot of the time we're dealing with architects, and we're further down the chain doing the building services, so we're then frustrated at the architects. And of course they're of course frustrated with us as well. Yeah, it's this cyclical thing of
well, I'll see, architecture is an interesting one, because I took the end of my finger off 10 years in my 40s with a router, and I'd been designing and hugely interested in design for many years. And I remember being in the hospital with my finger bandaged up in the air, thinking, what am I playing around with dangerous tools for not much money an hour? You know what? I'm going to go and do architecture. And within a couple of months, I was enrolled at, we've got a good school of architecture about an hour away down in Plymouth. And I'd enrolled and started 3 years at university. Now, financially, I was better off, because all the grants, having children and stuff. I didn't have a very good year financially before, but I ended up being slightly better off financially studying it. And it was fantastic. And I went into it because, to me, I had this thought that going and studying a design-led course, so I thought architecture is best, being in construction, would give me all that creativity that I want. And the course was it was bonkers, but it was amazing, and I learned so much. But once I got into practice, most of architecture is management. Yeah. And I'm not a manager. That's the last place. And I found that I was in a place I was unsuited for. There's that whole thing of promotion to incompetence.
The Peter Principle.
Yeah, I arrived there. The moment I stepped through the door, I was just like, the wrong person for that job. There was some creativity in their moments of it, but most of it isn't. And that's a real eye.
A lot of that creativity is then led by, the client or the budget or things anyway. So not often as much creativity as you might want. Totally.
Well, in the practice I was in, and don't get me wrong, it was fantastic practice. The people were brilliant and fantastic to me. At the time, I think there were about 5 partners. There's about 20 odd people, and it sort of worked as like 5 little mini businesses in one. So you work for a partner. They went to see the clients, had that initial meeting, and would just quickly do out a sketch and pass it on. Right, draw this up, and get models up, and so they kind of done that creative moment. But they were so overworked because they had business to run and all the legal stuff and the client and blind sorting out their teams, that they didn't have time. They probably put half an hour into a design, if that. So there were nuggets where, fortunately, if you got along to one of those early meetings, I would start sketching on the train to work each day. And we had one, it was quite a minor, it was just a small domestic house, and like 3 days later I gave the partner I worked with, I said, I've just been sketching these, gave him the sketchbook. He said, great, okay, yep, go draw it up, that's fine. So there were moments, and those moments were fantastic, but you had to sort of grab them out of the pile of everything else. Anyone wants to go into architecture, don't believe that it's creative, because I didn't find that. If you're a manager and you like details, it's brilliant.
It's interesting, actually. An old architect friend of mine was saying that, because he's old school architecture, so for him, he was an architect before project managers existed. Yeah. So for him, it's always been the creative design and the management of the project.
Yeah, we had that in our practice. Yeah,
exactly. So he's kind of the other way now of, modern architecture being a little bit more different in some areas, where you have a project manager then taking all of that management role off you.
Yeah, we did high-end 1% clients, holiday homes. They were beautiful, but they were your classic contemporary or pastiches. And so we were on site, but site generated a whole list of to-dos, new drawings and stuff like that. So I actually got to the point where I didn't really enjoy being on site, even though site was a fantastic place because I knew what it was going to generate. But it's just that realization that I'd lost something on that journey. So it goes a bit back to like the YouTube. I had to make a decision that I was in the wrong place. And actually what I wanted to do, to me, actually creativity is an amalgamation of these two things. So that creative thought and design, as well as the hands-on, which is why ultimately garden rooms is kind of the perfect place for me. Combines both of them. So I'm very happy there. So if anyone wants a garden room, just give me a call. But you've got to live near me because I ain't traveling any further than 10 miles.
That's www.pricklysauce.com.
Thank you. Excellent. Nice website. Go on there. You can see the stuff I've been making over the last couple of years.
It's very nice too. I have.
Every job is different and everyone is unique and everyone is top notch. They have to be. So
I suppose this is probably a good point. 2 hours 6 minutes in to say that welcome, you are Rob from Prickly Sauce.
I was just going to say, where does Prickly Sauce come from?
Well, okay, so that's So I was at the architects and decided to leave, and I knew I wanted to come back in within a creative. I didn't want to come back as a joiner. Before I started architecture, I took on. My grandfather started a business, F.L. Thomas, and then my father went on, so it became F.L. Thomas and Son. And I took on that name, so I worked under that for quite a while, and I changed it to Sons, so it wasn't son and grandson, so it's F.L. Thomas and Son. And I'd turn up, it's only me, and people are expecting like a big construction firm with a dozen people, because it kind of sounded, it was very traditional. So when I came back, I definitely didn't want. I laid that to the side, and I wanted to come back. So it was design led, and it's quite difficult to come into stuff. And as Jamie, you'll particularly probably knows that domain names, you've got to get the right domain name, and you really want .com and .co.uk. If you try and find anything with design in the name, it doesn't exist. I went through the gamut of everything, and I didn't want to work under my own name because there's something about it's not hiding behind a name, but if you're under something which isn't your own name, you can do anything.
Yeah,
and I definitely took the view, and I'm in no way saying that I see myself as Apple, but what does Apple really mean? Absolutely nothing to do with tech industry, but now it means a lot. So actually branding and logos are really interesting, and that most of them don't actually mean anything. A brand is what people say about your business. There's nothing else. So you kind of project what you're about, and people will put their ideals onto you, and that makes your brand and builds everything up. So I went down that sort of route, thinking I could have something completely different, and I wanted the .com. And I couldn't find anything. So I thought back to when my kids were young and I was cooking for them, and they'd say, what's for supper, Dad? I'd say, slug slime and prickly sauce. Because, you do that. Six-year-olds absolutely love it. Grossing out and stuff. And funnily enough, pricklysauce.com was available. Who would have believed it? So that was the only decision, and for the good or bad of it, I can't say as a local sort of joiner, creative maker, it's worked very well because no one understands it at all. But it's become kind of my name on the internet in a general as a maker. I've got the Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. It's all available. It was easy to get hold of, and then you become known as that. So I still work under Pricklysauce as a business because it's now a little bit too difficult. Got the website to break away from that. And it's okay. Locals know it. They know it's my sort of eccentricity and the like. And most of my clients I know of some form or other, or invited through friends or whatever. So so it comes from that. So I've got my kids to thank for Pricklysauce.
That's brilliant. I love that.
That's a cool origin story.
Yeah. But it means nothing, and surely that's the best thing to work under.
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned Apple. I mean, that was, Steve Jobs had asked for name suggestions and said if we haven't come up with anything by 5:00 Friday, whatever it is, I'm picking Apple because it's it's high up in the phone book and it's above Amstrad.
But branding, because this is another sort of passion of mine, and I'm super interested in it. And we probably won't go down that rabbit hole, but you really have to look at branding and what you're called and the like, and not be too specific. Unless don't call yourself Alan Scannell Woodturner if you're not wood turning. And I know Alan does, and that's probably all he wants to do, and that's completely perfect. But if you don't just want to do wood turning, call yourself something else. Yeah. And
the irony is, I've had discussions with Alan about him doing other stuff, and he's said exactly the same thing. I know he's not got his own podcast to call me out on it now, but we've had that suggestion.
There was rumours. I haven't seen the comments because I got it switched off, so I didn't have to see it. But there were rumours they were going to reform in the comments tonight, but I don't know if he got that going.
Oh, he has been. Yeah. Don't worry, yeah. He's had to duck out now, but you're back after this. Look early on, you'll see.
Come on, we should get there tomorrow, aren't we? Nearly. So let's.
Not far off. Yeah.
Yeah, not quite. We're now second longest. You're ahead of Andy Berkey. Just chasing on the tails of Ali now.
That's. I don't know. What else do you want to talk about? Or
I'm just thinking there. One of the things that we, Jamie and I have been talking about, and have actually started planning, is that every 20th episode, we're going to have a group. So we're going to have a kind of group chat. So rather than just us and one guest. We'll get the first one at episode 20, which we've already booked in, will be Ali with Billy Rubin, Ruth Amos, possibly another, and that will be talking about how, as we've mentioned on both Ruth's and Ali's podcasts, how can people like Jamie and I, two middle-aged bearded white blokes, help be allies for female, non-binary, and it might be with. I don't know if it's with this. This is something we have to chat about, Jamie. Whether we kind of address colour at the same issue at the same point, or whether we just stick with kind of female and non-binary to start with. I think do that at another time.
I think that's the thing. Is I think there's enough of a spectrum of diversity outside of being middle-aged, middle-class white dudes with beards. Outside of heteronormativeness and gender diversity and colour and background and creed and everything outside of us, that we've got so much we can tackle down the line anyway. Yeah. I think it's as we tackle any of it.
So I'm thinking we've got the Fools of Tool guys penciled in for episode 40 already. That's our furthest ahead planning wise. Yeah.
And you all know that they're totally off any scale of anything as well.
Yeah,
that's why we got them planned in way ahead just to give them a fighting chance of.
And so I instantly started talking about kind of sort of branding and rabbit hole, and I don't think we need to go down that rabbit hole now this evening.
No.
But perhaps you'd come back on with maybe if we can get a couple of other people that maybe know about branding, that are good with branding, and we could have a branding episode maybe for episode 60.
Just to really mix it up, have Rob, maybe have Al, and then have someone like Fletch who makes branding irons. Something different types of branding.
Well, it does have an hour of confusion going around. Yeah. You never know. Okay. Yeah, that'd be really cool. I'll tell you now, I am no expert. I'm just someone has great interest in
won
it.
an international competition,
instinct.
which is a branding thing.
Made a name for yourself by turning up to an event with a very unique rucksack. You've got this insight that's whether it's developed or just naturally
Natural
there.
talent.
It's definitely present.
Yeah, shame I can't make money from it, but hey ho.
Yet.
Yet.
Maybe you will.
Well, maybe. Who knows?
I mean, we're saying it now, but you've got 50
cool.
episodes time. We've seen what you can do with a couple of months of playing on posters. So
I'll do my homework. I'll listen to a few podcasts and stuff.
You've got nearly a year to work it out.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely up for that. And as I said before, as people listening and probably don't know, I was fairly reticent to come on this podcast, only in that I'm not that interested in self-promoting, but I do love what you're doing, where it's this just sort of general chat round. And I said to you guys, I said, yeah, I'll come on, but just hold me in case someone doesn't turn up. Yeah, so don't put me on as a guest. Just have me there in your back pocket. Now, I don't think you guys thought, but unfortunately your guest this week couldn't turn up, so that's why I'm here. So I'll just give that to you as well.
It was
in the future, I'm happy to come back.
We knew that was the only way we'd get you on, is we'd just have to give you that air of, it'll be down the line, it's fine, don't worry, don't stress.
We weren't expecting it quite yet, but we're very grateful that you...
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have come on if it wasn't under that sort of understanding. And yeah, it's been fantastic. I can't believe we've spoken for over 2 hours. And my throat hasn't completely given up.
It's probably a time we should start kind of sort of wrapping up, which may take another hour, given our success at wrapping up some of the conversations. So we'd let the guests go first. What's been grabbing your attention lately? And that can be anything, whether it's videos, books,
sure.
people...
I've already spoken. I've got 3. I've already spoken about one, which is Chris. So again, anyone in the UK, go and grab on iPlayer, Chris Fisher, Blind Ambition on BBC Two. I think they're repeating it, but on iPlayer. If you don't know him, go and show him support, because what he is doing is absolutely amazing. It truly.
I saw Chris live in 2019 at Axminster.
Yeah.
And I've seen quite a few of his videos. But just seeing actually in action, and there's no editing. You do something on a video, clever editing, people in the background saying, directing. There's none of that. Absolutely none of that.
I tell you what, you think the wood turning's good. You need to watch him bandsawing. That's awesome. Chainsawing, that was good, and I believe he's also welded as well. Yeah, the man knows no limit. He is an absolute star.
Perfect example of why whatever you think you can't do, you can.
Yeah,
give it a go.
No, totally. And he's so down to earth. It's just like you just get on with it. And the other thing that's been catching my attention. In fact, the TV's been on all day, every day since the Olympics. The Olympics are just amazing. I can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
Just fantastic. I know it's nothing to do with making, but you have to be inspired by other stuff that's out there and going on. So, and then we've got Paralympics. I was so fortunate in London. When it came to London, I got to the Paralympics.
Yeah, we did too. Yeah.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. I watched the blind long jumping was right in front of me. The finals is the best thing I've ever watched. So go and catch that. So that's awesome. Did you see the BMXing today? Did you catch any of it?
I haven't got the BMX today.
I've gone to see the BMXing.
I tell you what I've really liked is some of the new ones that they've brought in. Obviously, I'm looking forward to the climbing.
Climbing's coming. Speed climbing's coming up.
Yeah, I love that stuff anyway.
It's ridiculous.
Been to a few of the kind of Grand Prix back a long time ago. But I've really enjoyed watching some of the other new ones in, like the 3-on-3 basketball, the relay triathlon.
That was the best.
Yeah,
I watched that on Catch
Absolutely
Up.
loved that.
How exciting was that? Each person only took 20 minutes to get around to do.
Yeah,
so it's a shorter triathlon.
300 meters. I mean, it's a sprint triathlon, isn't it? It's 4 legs of sprint triathlon.
Yeah. Oh God, no, that is so watchable. The Olympics this time has been fantastic, despite the crowds. I haven't really noticed. I haven't had the crowds have really sorted that really well. With the sort of the colouring of the chairs, so it feels like there's people, and all the announcements. I'm sure for the athletes it's probably been quite difficult for some of them, but I think the experience of the watcher has been.
Haven't been in some athletic stadiums. We managed to get at the Olympics. I think we saw. It wasn't basketball. We saw one of the kind of non-athletics for the Olympics in 2012. We then got to the Paralympics. Again, we didn't get into the stadium, but we got into the Olympic Park because we went to XL. I can't remember was it XL the first time.
I can't remember.
It was something like it was volleyball or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we got to the Paralympics and we saw the football. With the Olympic Park, you could go and so we watched some tennis and basketball, some football. It was brilliant. And after that, then the Commonwealth Games in 2014 up in Scotland.
In Glasgow.
In Glasgow. So we took a holiday up in Edinburgh.
Best city in Scotland. Fantastic. Sorry, anyone else from Scotland from anywhere else. But Claire, who's now my wife, lived in Glasgow, and that city, I love it so much. I spent so much time there. It's such a good city.
Yeah, we only took the day there. We stayed in Edinburgh and then took the day.
Edinburgh, all the tourists go there. Why go to Edinburgh? Glasgow's where it's at. Go back. Really, no, truly.
Well, we took in. It was overlapping with the festival. So we took in some of the festival stuff as well.
Yeah. No, the
so it's like, where do we stay? And we wanted kind of sort of city break. So we we opted for Edinburgh because we went with some others as well. We went with another family, some friends of ours, and took an Airbnb type thing.
Yeah, because I lived up in Scotland for about 10 years. I was up on the west coast. Oh, that was amazing. That's where I did all my climbing and mountaineering, skiing, wilderness stuff. Brilliant place.
Yeah, it's a beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, one other thing I've seen, which is good, YouTube. So a guy called Jack Conte, who do you know Jack Conte?
Patreon.
Patreon. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, but he's an amazing musician. So he is, and that's where he started out from. So Pomplamoose and Scary Pockets, a couple of bands he's doing, and started Patreon. But he's this amazing creative. I would say to anyone, if they're creative, and particularly if you want to think, looking at YouTube and stuff, go and follow him. His subscriber base isn't huge, which is quite surprising considering who he is and what he does. But have you ever seen his videos?
I've seen a couple of his videos.
Yeah, God, the mainly vlogs, but he talks about stuff. But the detailing that he takes in the way he does them and his cuts between different things is just stunning. But interestingly, he's just started, because I'm really interested in music. Even I play guitar, but I'm not a great musician. But I have a huge interest as like another thing. But he's just started a professional musicians react channel, separate channel. So they've only had a couple of channels up. And if you're into music and getting some sort of insight into, I
love musician reaction videos anyway, so I'll absolutely be jumping on that.
Yeah, there's a huge sort of thing in this whole react video. So undoubtedly getting into that. They just covered Billie Eilish, a couple of tracks from her latest album. But the insights you get, I listen to music, think, it's all right. But because they know what they're talking about, and listening to that, it teaches you so much. And that's what I love. And that's kind of what I search for, stuff I don't know about and going for. And the production values, again, on his videos are fantastic on that channel. And I think it's great to take inspiration from not necessarily the content of the video, but how they're doing it and looking at people like him. I think he's possibly one of the best creators on YouTube at the moment. Cool. So,
Jamie, what's been grabbing your attention?
Well, I've been playing with this all evening.
Under the table.
Yeah, just the usual.
For the
thing
benefits of the audio listeners who can't see.
Yeah,
the
for the audio listeners, it's called an RF Explorer, and I've had this thing for a very, very long time. But it is essentially it's a handheld spectrum analyzer that will pick up Wi-Fi signals and RF signals between 144 and 430 megahertz. So really handy from sort of me from a technical side, things like diagnosing Wi-Fi problems in an office, or help Jamie, my keyboard's missing letters or things like that, and I can wander around. But I've basically been playing with this just to dig it back out and have a bit of fun with that.
You've been debugging your office, haven't you? Really, that's what it is, isn't it? You're looking for the hidden cameras.
No, I potentially might be debugging a vehicle.
Ooh.
So that is why I sort of thought, I better get that out and refamiliarize myself with it, and because it's been a while since I've needed to use it, and get the firmware updated. And
for a moment when I saw that and you mentioned that, I thought maybe you were a hacker and you were hacking into people's Wi-Fi and like tinkering around inside.
No, you wouldn't use that for that. I've got all the other stuff.
You got better stuff for that.
Yeah. But it is fantastic for doing that kind of thing of diagnosing issues with that sort of thing, or why is my phone dead when I'm walking in this particular part of the house, or things like that.
Yeah, okay.
Quite fun, quite handy little gadget, really. But no, I was going to shout out someone who was in the chat earlier on, which is Chris McWilliams from Causeway Supply, who's a phenomenal leather worker over in Northern Ireland, and a good friend of mine. I chat to him with Alan and Johnny in a WhatsApp chat.
Yeah, he's done some work for Johnny, I believe.
He has, yeah. They've collaborated on a few things. Where Johnny's done a knife, and then
amazing work. Yeah,
absolutely. And we were looking to collaborate on something ourselves as well, between the two of us. And I sort of suggested a little bit of, maybe I could show you a little bit of Fusion 360 or something. So we basically had 5.5 hours last night until 2:00 in the morning, doing an in-depth, skim the surface, very deep dive into Fusion 360, and then into 3D printing and leatherwork and all sorts of stuff. So that's been a fun attention grabber for me this week.
So pulling back full circle, I think there's part of your potential niche, Jamie. Yeah, because after Schools for Fools last year, where you did many weeks of CAD training for a group of us.
Yeah, we did 12 weeks, I think.
I think you've got. I think there's a niche for you to produce potentially quite short, informative videos.
Well, that was what I was considering doing. Maybe doing a particular project, but draw it in AutoCAD and draw it in SolidWorks and draw it in Fusion 360 and draw it in FreeCAD and that kind of thing.
Have you thought of Skillshare going on as an instructor on that?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the, as we talked about before, it's the huge time investment. Whereas to do something at the moment, it's I was saying to Chris last night, it's self-care for me to be able to speak one-on-one with a friend and say, look, here's some skills I have that you want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Let me sort of tip from my bucket into yours. It's that kind of that I get a lot of enjoyment out of. But I think if I was doing it as a job or as a thing I've got to add process to, I think I'd need someone to do the editing for me.
See, what about the other way? I know if you're doing it for someone else, but you could do it as a live stream. And then there's monetization on that where people can.
True, yeah.
Yeah, there's people do a lot of that type of thing now. So you could actually help an individual with the problem. Obviously, they're going to be happy to have it out there on the internet. But
yeah, I mean that was sort of something we kind of considered with the Schools for Fools stuff that Andy mentioned, which was basically a group of friends who were on essentially a live stream like this, and we would workshop a a particular problem in Fusion 360. So,
but if you did it
jam.
up onto YouTube itself, it might be value for other people, and then they might donate to you through the, I don't know why anyone actually does it. I don't understand, like Patreon. I don't know why anyone would sign up to donate money. I've never quite got that. So I understand it works and it's brilliant, but there are people out there who are very happy to support people that they follow and like.
Very kind people.
Got the money. So, yeah.
Oh, there you go. Chris is still watching as well.
Yeah, in fact, I'll just put that up on the Chris saying thank you for that. And it's for the benefit of the audio listeners. I'll read this out. The time spent last night was inspirational, and the way he teaches so patient, dragging Chris into the age of technology.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that's been my attention this week in terms of that and basically shouted at Virgin Media for upgrading my internet. Switching from personal to business and, yeah.
Reducing your input for a while, yeah.
A bit, yeah. A bit of both. How about you, Andy? What's been grabbing your attention this week?
Well, the summer holidays have started, so my wife has now finished working in school, so that means I get less rest time. Doing sort of things around the house and sorting things out. I think I've had a few, so in the last couple of days, been very, very busy doing lots of little things, getting things sorted. Never mind trying to catch up with the fact that we had the flooding last week, which we're still trying to dry sheds out, and we're trying to find somebody to fix our conservatory leaks for not a stupid amount of money.
Get rid of an indoor water feature.
Yes, yeah, and it was raining tonight as well, so it started to drip again. That's not good. But other than that, all kind of sensible things. I've finished my secret project. I'm not going to announce it yet. Jeremy, I think you've seen a picture of it.
Is there going to be a video on your
There is hopefully going to be a video, and hopefully by this time next week I can say there's a video out for it. So there's hopefully enough footage. The footage extends over 2 years. 2 years.
I hope I haven't put you off YouTube, Andy.
No, not at all. I've kind of other things get in the way enough. No, but hopefully there'll be a video out.
Cool.
Within the next week.
In fairness, I think next week's guest would probably well appreciate the project as well, so it might be a good talking point for.
Yes, hopefully. Week. So I'll certainly. Things we
just to tease everyone a little bit.
Yeah. Who's next week? I'm intrigued.
We have the Redsmith, Gerard the Redsmith. Yeah,
very good, very nice.
So we've got some big guests coming up. Other than that, actually, yesterday the Virtual Craft Festival that JP
very good
has put on with I think Dale and Carl Jacobson. There was a good bunch of people yesterday. I've only seen a few of them. I get very busy doing finishing the secret project, putting the secret project up, and so I've seen a couple. Al's Hacksack took apart a Suzuki Vitara engine in an hour. That was a bit of a laugh, and I caught up with James from Molten Make.
That's the one I've seen so far. Yeah,
absolutely brilliant hour on printing presses.
Yeah,
that was if people are interested in printing presses, definitely recommend going and having.
It's very interesting stuff on things like colour and paper and how the machines work and stuff. Very, very interesting.
Paper search engine. I want one of those.
Yeah, I have total workshop envy of James.
Oh,
yes.
What he hasn't got, and the stuff he finds as well in auctions, and he comes out and some medical machine that he converts into, I don't know, some 3D printer or something. It's just
the worst thing is he's such a lovely guy as well. You can't even hate him for it.
He's not really.
He makes good beer. Yeah. So that's sort of been a busy few days. Just we've been rearranging and tidying up youngest's bedroom, particularly making it more usable, and fixing a few things. Lots of fixing little things. And, secret projects and the Virtual Craft Festival. Obviously, links to all these things will be in the show notes over the next couple of days, as usual. If I get a chance, then hopefully they'll be up Monday or Tuesday, but certainly by Wednesday, end of Wednesday, normally get the audio edited up by then. And
it happens when it happens.
The links, yes, this is very much the case. There is no plan for the episode, and there is a kind of a vision for delivery of the audio by midweek,
or at least before next week's show.
Well, given that this is now the longest running one,
how did that happen?
Yeah, now it's the longest running one. I think we did. I'll try and get it out maybe Tuesday to give people a chance to listen to it before next week's.
You do realise I don't have to listen to it now.
No, you don't.
That's true. Yeah,
which is a shame because I won't have anything to listen to. But that's the worst thing about coming on a podcast.
Yes, I was a bit like that with Fools with Tools last week. So I watched the live.
The live one? Yeah, I did exactly the same.
Wednesday came. But luckily, there was an extra dump of a couple of podcasts on Wednesday. It was like, I've got enough to keep me going. In fact, I'm still behind on my podcast listening for this week. So again, that's partly because of being on holiday.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. So
cool.
It's almost like we're getting good at this whole waffling thing.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you dig out some of my old students and ask about me waffling. I think one of my students at the end of one A-level lesson once said 14. I said, what do you mean 14? He said 14 different stories that weren't about physics. They were linked to physics. It was kind of here. It's like
everything's linked to physics.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah,
you were just made to do podcasts. That's all.
But I used to say this sometimes to people. Yeah, it's like I only became a teacher because I couldn't make it as a comedian.
Bob Monkhouse said I told my careers advisor I wanted to be a comedian, and they weren't laughing, and they're not laughing now. Something like that. Or they laughed at me and they're not laughing now.
Yeah. Where can people find you, Rob? It's traditional at the end of a podcast to ask the guest.
Yeah, type in Pricklysauce. It's everywhere. I'm only on Instagram, pretty much. I've got stuff on YouTube, but
and Twitter even. I found you on Twitter this afternoon when I was posting.
I've got it.
Yeah, haven't posted there for a while.
I did Twitter for about 2 weeks and got bored of it. Didn't take very long. So I'm not on there, but not actively on there. So yeah,
but you're very active on Instagram. I think that's
Instagram's the place
where
I hang out. That's where all the cool makers are, I think.
But I would encourage people who are not familiar with your YouTube catalogue. I would encourage them to go back and have a look at some of those vlogs.
Yeah, find them. Go and find them.
Yeah, some are a bit hidden.
The treasure hunt.
Yeah.
Right. I think on that note, we will say good night to those that are still. There's a few hardy souls still going.
And maybe congratulations or well done.
Yeah. They should have a prize of some sort.
We should have that also. Yeah, once we get stickers, there will be stickers at some point. Plus, we should have a little thing with the end of the live show, which we'll cut out. So if we say good night now, then we'll have a little bit. People
I'll tell you what. I'll
message me and we'll send you stickers.
Yeah, I'll try and design you some stickers, and I'll try and get that sorted.
Well, we've got kind of it's one I threw together, which is rubbish. Jacob Doherty from Other Dog Designs did quite a nice one, which is the one that's on your T-shirt on one of the posts. So one of the Instagram posts.
Okay. So
the one where you've got your mask on. I moved the logo, so that's going to be one of the stickers. So
cool.
Yeah, I would if you would.
I'll
like to take the time to create something.
I'll pen something up, but if you ask Justin of Justin White, I gave him a face made for podcasts, which I thought was very funny. I'm not sure he found the funny side of it. Top news is coming back.
I've seen,
Fantastic. I think I might know who the first guest is, but I'm not saying.
Ooh, because I gave him several long lists of people he should interview.
Yeah, big name.
So that'd be nice. You can tell us after the show's finished. So yeah, hopefully we'll catch up with those. But some of those people are now on our list, so maybe I should tell him you can't have them now.
We can get them in first.
But
we'll have different conversations.
Does something completely different from what you.
Totally, exactly.
You're going to get something.
Yeah, we do that. We have very different conversations.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah. Right. So let's say goodbye to all the folks that are still listening.
And anyone who's listening
in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
It's been an absolute
pleasure
blast,
having you on, Rob.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I'll definitely do it again.
Good.
Well, we really, really appreciate it.
I'm going to scared you off too much.
3 hours next time.
Well, we're not far off it now. Yeah, 2 hours. 2 hours 39 and 20 seconds. Yeah, can we keep going for another 40 seconds to make it?
If we don't click the button now, Andy, we might hit that 3 hours.
Go on, click it.
Yeah, we'll click it now.
Good night, guys.
Good night.